सर आवाज येतो का सर?
हा, आता आवाज येतोय. हॅलो. Yes, for now, audio will on call. Hello. 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 Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. So there is a technical issue about the joining of Zoom only.
Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
There was a technical issue about joining the Zoom link, sir.
Okay.
So along with you, sir, there is a Talmale, sir, and Katkar, sir, is also here. So with the permission of organizer or principal, we will start the Zoom webinar.
Good morning, everyone. I am Professor Sunanda Kumble. On behalf of Mahatma Gandhi Art, Science, and late Nasruddin Bhai Panjwani.
आवाज नहीं.
So good morning, everyone. I am Professor Sunanda Kumble on behalf of Mahatma Gandhi Art, Science, and late Nasruddin Bhai Panjwani Commerce College, Armory, District Gadchiroli, and Department of Zoology. Welcomes to all the dignitaries, eminent persons, faculties, research scholars, students who have joined us today for this one-day national webinar on ecological restoration, climate change, and biodiversity conservation, which is organized by Department of Zoology. Mahatma Gandhi Arts, Science, and late NP Commerce College, Armory, District Gadchiroli, affiliated to Gondwana University, Gadchiroli, was established in the year 1981, and we feel proud to announce that our institution has achieved A grade in the fourth cycle with a 3.24 CGPA and received awards for annual magazine Shabda Shilpa and being recognized with the Best College Award from Gondwana University, which is a remarkable success. Our institution have three faculties, arts, science, and commerce, and also research center in zoology, mathematics, geology, sociology, and Marathi. Our vision is to educate, encourage, and empower, especially the girls and boys of this rural and tribal area. And our mission is to include the excluded, to educate for self-reliance, to promote national integration, and to make commitment to community and to create environmental awareness. Now, Department of Zoology was established in the year 1993-94 for UG degree course. From the year 2012 to 13, we run PG degree course, and from 2020 to 21, we have research center. Besides this, department offers a variety of courses such as certificate course in sericulture and provides students with practical experiences like visit to poultry farm, sericulture center, and Wagada village, which is near to Armory, for the study of migratory birds. And in the department, we are 4 faculties and one lab attendant. Today, on 12 September 2023, Department of Zoology organizing a national webinar, and today's webinar promises to be a platform for the exchange of knowledge, ideas, and insights that will undoubtedly contribute our collective growth and understanding. We brought together a panel of experts and thought leaders who will share their expertise on ecological restoration, climate change, and biodiversity conservation. And for this webinar, we have keynote speakers, Dr. Ravindra Kshirsagar sir, Dr. Shamkant Talmale sir, and Mr. Rundan Katkar. I welcome all the keynote speakers and guests. Welcome, sir. Now, I request Honorable respected Dr. Lal Singh Khalsa sir, Principal of our college and organizer of this webinar for introductory remark. Over to you, sir. Principal sir.
Good morning. Am I audible? Am I audible, you all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, good morning. I extend a warm and hearty welcome to all the eminent keynote speaker, delegates, scholars, and participants to this significant national webinar, which particularly focused on very critical issues of our time, on particularly restoration of ecosystem, climate change, and definitely biodiversity conservation. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate Dr. Jayesh Papadkar, Head Department of Zoology, and his colleagues for organizing this national webinar on a very vital and interconnected topic. We are hereby fortunate that the Professor Dr. Ravindra Kshirsagarji, Dr. Shamkant Talmale, and Mr. Rundan Katkar. All these are very eminent scholars and they contributed a lot, particularly in this field. And they joined with us as a keynote resource person for this webinar. This is really a very fortunate for us. And no doubt that I have no doubt that we can gain a valuable insights into how we can contribute to the restoration of ecosystems and to combat the climate change and protect our biodiversity so that our worlds became beautiful and vibrant and unique. So it's our responsibility that just we are taking care of our home, we should have to take care of our world also, our planet also. Before I conclude, I would like to express my deep gratitude to all the participants for this very important webinar who are connected with us, and we must educate ourselves as well as future generations also, particularly on this topic about the importance of ecosystem, climate change, and biodiversity. So no doubt that I am very sure that this webinar could be the beacon of hope because there is a very uncertainty in this condition, and believe that this opportunity for all of us, this is the opportunity for all of us to come together and learn from one another and take an action so that we can solve these major issues in front of our planet. And I'm sure that this webinar is very, very fruitful. And I expect that you all enjoying this webinar of today's. No doubt that all the webinar scholars are very, very eminent. They do a lot of contribution in their fields, and we get the benefits. So I wish you all the best for this webinar, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Dr. Jayesh Papadkar, sir, organizing secretary of this webinar and head of the department, to give brief introduction of the Dr. Ravindra Kshirsagar, sir, keynote speakers of first session. Papadkar, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Now, in the first technical session, Dr. Ravindra Kshirsagar is here with us. A very good morning to all respected dignitaries, invited speaker, and all the participants. Welcome to the most awaited national webinar on ecological restoration, climate change, and biodiversity conservation. Our aim behind organizing this webinar is to enhance understanding of relationship among ecological restoration, climate change, and biodiversity, and to assess the response of biodiversity to change in climatic factors and other pressures. We are honored to have such a distinguished group of teachers and students joining us. A special welcome is also extended to the guest speaker joining us today. We appreciate your willingness to share your knowledge and expertise. Today's event promises an engaging and enlightening experience for all of us. Let us all take advantages of this opportunity to grow and learn together. This webinar will be a valuable and informative experience for all of us. So let's make the most of the opportunity and take away something new, exciting to share with our peers. Our first invited speaker is Honorable Dr. Ravindra Kshirsagar, Head, Postgraduate Department of Zoology and Research Center, Modern College, Arts, Science and Commerce, Ganesh Kind, Pune. Dr. Ravindra Kshirsagar has achieved Gold Medal and Best Innovative Teacher Award. He is also known for various recognitions like Best Scientist Award 2008, Distinguished Scientist Award Dubai 2020, and Distinguished Resource Person in Innovative Teachers Pedagogy. Now, I request Dr. Ravindra Kshirsagar that first technical session initiate and enlighten us. Thank you, sir.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Sir, you are audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Thank you. So, good morning, all of you. It's a really wonderful moment for me and also the college which has organized this national webinar. So at the outset, I express my heartfelt gratitude towards the Manorbai Shikshan Prasarak Mandal's Armory, Mahatma Gandhi Arts, Commerce and Science College, and Nasiruddin Bhai Panjwani Commerce College, Armory, District Gadchiroli. And I express my gratitude towards the most eminent principal, Dr. Khalsa sir, Lal Singh Khalsa sir, and the coordinator of this national webinar, Dr. Jayant Papadkar sir, all the dignitaries and all the researchers who have joined for this national webinar. So I'm really grateful for inviting me for this national webinar as a resource person. So I will start with my introductory speech. Sir, is my screen is visible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
sir.
Visible,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Visible, sir.
Okay. So I will start with my speech that we know that we are facing a lot of issues, and this college, Mahatma Gandhi College, they have rightly taken these issues in the form of national webinar, and the topic is very current topic: ecological restoration, climate change, and the biodiversity conservation. And no doubt, after my lecture, the most eminent scientist, Dr. Thalmale sir, also Dr. Rondak sir, also they are also presenting their thoughts on this webinar. So I will start with my presentation that is about climate change. Today I'm going to talk about the climate change. Now, this we will start with this. The we will start with the concept from the climate. So what is the climate? If you look, the climate is the long-term pattern or weather in a particular area. Now we are always come across with a number of words like today's atmosphere is not good, today's weather is not good, today's climate is not good. So these words, they are a little bit linked with each other. The climates, then weather and the atmosphere. But if you look, the concept of the climate is the term pattern or weather in a particular area. Weather can change from hour to hour, day to day, month to month, or even year to year. A region's weather pattern usually track for at least 30 years and are considered it's a climate. So this climate, it is the sum or the mean of all the data which are gathering, and then we are coming to the particular conditions that we are saying that this is the climate in a particular region. So it is the regions where weather patterns usually track for at least 13 years and considered its time. We know it very well. The climate is variable across the globe, and it is affected by landscape, relief, and activities, both human and the physical. Now, every countries, they have the spatial landscape, their spatial relief, the spatial activities, and based on that, the climate is changing. So the climate is the average weather in a given area for a longer period of time. A description of climate includes information on the average temperature in different seasons, rainfall and sunshine, and also description of the chance of extreme is often included. So there are also microclimates, and these are areas within a climatic region that can vary. For example, you can take a top of hill, sunny side of hill, shaded side of hill, bottom of the hill. So this climate is variable across time and including deep time. Now, the earth have a very normal climatic conditions, but due to some anthropogenic activities, man-made activities, the normal phenomenon or the normal climatic condition has been changed drastically. It is important to note that weather is not the same as the climate. Weather is the state of condition at a certain point in time as opposed to climate, which covers a longer period of time. The different parts of the weather includes temperature, pressure, precipitation, and humidity. Now, we know it very well that we are continuously dealing with is meteorological department, and the science of monitoring and studying the atmosphere and predicting its weather and climate is called meteorology, and people who have studied weather and the climates are known as meteorologists. So we are quite happy that the Shimla office, it is very near to our college. We have very meteorological department in Pune next to the ISER. So we are continuously dealing with these peoples which are near to our college. So This is a meteorological department in Pune. Now, just we will talk about the climate of India. The climate of India is a monsoon type, which is found mainly in South Asia and Southeast Asia. The word monsoon is derived from the Arabic word mausim, which means season. Originally, the word monsoon was used by Arab navigators several centuries ago to describe a system of seasonal reversible of wind along the shores of the Indian Oceans, especially over the Arabian Sea, and in which the wind blows from southwest to northeast during the summer season and from northeast to southwest during the winter season. So here I am focusing about the Indian climatic zones and how this word is derived. Okay. Now, the Indian subcontinents is divided into great latitudinal dimensions. The different seasons are there from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. The Meteorological Department of India has recognized 4 seasons mostly: the cold weather season or winter season, the hot weather season or summer season, the southwest monsoon season or rainy season, and a retreating monsoon season. So this is the climatic conditions of weather which is in India. Now, if you look about the climate type and the region, we have the different codes which has given. For example, if the climate type tropical savanna, the code is AW and includes most of the peninsular plateaus south of the tropic of Cancer. AMW, tropical monsoons with the short dry season on the west coast of India south of Goa. AS, tropical moist coromandel coast of Tamil Nadu. ESHW, semi-arid steppe north western plain Gujarat and parts of the Rajasthan and Punjab. BWHW, hot desert extreme western Rajasthan. CWG, monsoon with dry winters, Ganga plain, eastern Rajasthan, north Madhya Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh and most of the northeast India. EFC, cold and humid winter and short summer, Arunachal Pradesh, and E-polar types, Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. So this is based on the Köppen's climatic scheme. India can be divided into 8 climatic regions. Now, so these are the basic concepts which I have talked in my slide, that what is weather, what is atmosphere, and what is the climate. The climate, it is the sum of all weathers which we are taking in consideration. Now, there is a drastic change in last so many years, and that has affected, and now the global issue has come, that is a climate change. So what is this climate change? It refers to the long-term shifts in temperature and weather pattern. These shifts may be natural, such as through variation in the solar cycle, but since the 1800s, the human activities, we are calling anthropological activities, have been the main driver of climate change, primarily due to burning fossil fuels like coal and oil gases. Now, this is the main factor of the climatic change, that are all anthropological activities. The major factors which is contributing to Earth's natural climate, the Earth's natural climate change, are determined by the axial tilt, Earth's orbit around the sun, the output of energy from our sun, the ocean natural cooling and warming cycle, and the constant variability in volcanic activities. So these are the factors which are responsible for the natural change in climatic conditions. Okay, so there are also natural factors and there are also anthropogenic activities. And this climatic change is due to the natural activities also. Now we will have a look What are the causes of climatic change? We are here calling is anthropogenic activities. Okay. So the first important point here we wanted to discuss about the factors which are responsible for climatic change. And the first factor is generating power. Generating electricity and heat by burning fossil fuel causes a large chunk of global emissions. Most electricity is still generated by burning coal, oil, or gas, which produces a carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide of powerful greenhouse gases that blanket the earth and trap the sunset. Now here, the important aspect, you know it very well, the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect, it is a little bit good for the growth of the plant. And these greenhouse gases, they trap the solar energy and little bit increase in the temperature. That is good for the health. But if it goes beyond the limit, so that time the temperature of the earth goes on increasing, and that results into the global warming. So the globally, a bit more than a quarter of electricity come from wind, solar, and other renewable systems, which is opposed to fossil fuels, emits little to no greenhouse gases or pollutants in there. Manufacturing goods. Now, this is the another anthropogenic activities which is responsible for this climatic change and the global warming. Manufacturing and industry produces emissions mostly from burning fossil fuels, produce energy for making things like cement, iron steel, electronic plastics, cloths, and other goods. Mining and other industrial process also releases gases, as does the construction industry. Machines used in the manufacturing process often run on coal, oil, or gas, and some materials like plastics are made from chemical source from fossil fuels. The manufacturing industry is one of the largest contributors to the greenhouse gas emissions world. Now, the people, they are thinking on generating power and the manufacturing goods and the companies, because the very hazardous outputs are coming from these industries. So here we can see what are the factors which are affecting the climate change. Here you can see here the generating power, then manufacturing goods, then powering buildings, producing foods. These are the various factors which are, then transportation is also there. These are the factors which are responsible for causes of climate change. This is another very important issues which is responsible for the climatic change. So you know it very well, the cutting down of forest, the deforestation. The cutting down forest to create farms or pastures or for other reasons causes emission, since trees, when they are cut, release the carbon they have been storing. Each year, approximately 12 million hectares of forest, the 12 million hectares of forest are destroyed. Since forests absorb carbon dioxide, destroying them also limits nature's ability to keep emissions out of the atmosphere. The deforestation, together with agriculture and other land use changes, is responsible for roughly a quarter of global greenhouse gas emissions. So this is one of the very important factors are responsible for increase in climate or increase in weather, or responsible for the global warming. Now, the another factors which contributes the climate change. We know this is the era of ICT. This is the era of Just a minute. Okay. So the factors using transportation, the most car, trucks, ships, and planes runs on fossil fuels. That makes transportation a major contributor of the greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide emissions. Road vehicles account for the largest part due to the combustion of petroleum-based products like gasoline in internal combustion engines, but emissions from ships and planes continues to grow. Transport accounts for nearly 1/4 of global energy related to carbon dioxide emission, and trends point to significant increase in energy used for transport over the coming years. Now, if you look the initial Earth scenario, so there was the little carbon dioxide, and that carbon dioxide are useful for the green plant. But along with the carbon dioxide, the chlorofluorocarbon, CFC, then methane, these are the gases. This is evolved from the industries, then transportations, then producing food companies. And these greenhouse gases, they have trapped in the Earth's atmosphere, in the Earth's stratosphere, in the troposphere. The basic function of these gases, they trapped the solar energy. But if that solar energy is not bounces back, that solar energy is not going back, so that all heat gets trapped into the Earth's surface, which results into increase in the temperature. Now, from the last so many decades, there is a increase in the temperature of about 1.5 degrees Celsius. So all these are the gases which are releasing from various industries and the transportation. This is the main fact, or this is the main factors which is responsible for climatic changes. Now, the another companies that you know it very well, that producing food causes emission of carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gases in various ways, including through the deforestation and clearing of land for agriculture and grazing, digestion by cows and the sheep, the production and the use of fertilizer and manufacture for growing crops, and the use of energy to run farm equipment for fishing boats. Usually with this fossil fuels, all this makes food production a major contributor to the climate change, and greenhouse gases emission also from packaging, the distributing. So it means if you look all these factors, even the small things can also brings the addition of the changes are responsible for increasing the climate change. Even the small individual activities are also responsible for changing the climates. Now, here you can see this is the another factors which is responsible for the climate change, that is powering buildings. Globally, residential and commercial buildings consumes over half of all electricity. As they continue to draw on coal, oil, and natural gas for heating and cooling, they emit significant quantities of greenhouse gas emissions. The growing energy demand for heating and cooling with rising air conditioning, ownership, as well as increased electricity consumption for lighting, appliances, and connected devices has contributed to rise in energy-related carbon dioxide emission from building and design. Now here, I would like to explain the things that initially only the carbon dioxide is, we are calling it greenhouse gases. But apart from this commercial building and this electricity and this powerhouses companies, which are using the chlorofluorocarbon CFC gases in air conditions or the coolant. When this chlorofluorocarbon gets released into the environment, this, because of the sunlight, this CFC, chlorofluorocarbon CFC, is broken down into the molecules like chlorine and FC. Okay, so fluorocarbons. Now this chlorine, it's acting just like a free radicals, and this chlorine gets released into the atmosphere. And the one chlorine molecule which is released from this atmosphere, that chlorine molecule have a capacity to break about 1000 ozone molecules, which is acting as a very good protective layer on the surface of the earth, that is O3. Now these chlorine molecules which are released into the atmosphere, that chlorine molecule, they have capacity to break this ozone layer. They convert into monolayer oxygen, then dioxygen, and because of this breaking of this ozone layer, we have found this ozone hole, the Antarctic. We are always dealing with this word ozone hole, and the factors which is responsible for the creating this ozone hole is just chlorine molecules, which is released as a part of the greenhouse gases. And these greenhouse gases, which are significantly releasing from the heating and the cooling and the rising air conditions and increase electricity consumption for lighting and the appliances. So these are the main factors which are releasing from the industries. The second part is consuming too much. Your home and use of power, how you move around, what you eat, and how much you throw away all contribute to greenhouse gas emission. So this is also, so when it comes to the individual level, so that time we can think that how you move around, how you use power, what you eat, and how much you throw away all contribute to greenhouse gas emission. So does the consumption of goods such as clothing, electronics, and the plastics, a large chunk of global greenhouse gas emissions are linked to private household. Our lifestyles have a profound impact on our planet, and the wealthiest bear the greatest responsibility. The richest 1% of the global population combined account for greenhouse gas emission than the poorest 50%. Now here I have already described that burning fossil fuels generate greenhouse gas emission that acts like a blanket wrapped around the earth, trapping the sunset and raising the temperature. The example of greenhouse gas emissions that are causing climate change include carbon dioxide and methane. This comes from the using gasoline for driving a car or coal for heating a building. For example, clearing land and forest can also release carbon dioxide. Now, so we have discussed that the emission of these greenhouse gases in the Earth's surface, they traps the solar energy. That solar energy will not bounce us back. As a result, there is an increase in the temperature by 1.5 or 2 degrees Celsius on the Earth's surface. That results into the various changes. And what are the changes which occurs due to the climatic change, due to increase in the temperatures, the intense drought, the second, the storms, heat waves, rising sea levels, melting glaciers, and the warming oceans. So here, the Europe and parts of the China have experienced extreme temperature this summer. Dry conditions in Africa have put millions of risk of starvation and the American West countries to see the persistent lack of rainfall. So this is the intense drought is we are experiencing due to this climatic change. The strongest global storm in 2022, the super typhoon Hinamor, we have observed this. The winter storms continues to pummel US 18 decades over 7 lakhs left without power. Then cyclone Taukut 14 May 2021, 19 May 2021. Cyclone Yas 23rd May 2021, 28th May 2021. Cyclone Gulab 24 September 2021, 28 September 2020. So all the world have experienced everything because of this climatic change. They have experienced about the intense drought, they have experienced the storms, heat waves, rising sea levels, and we are scaring that because of increase in the climate change, there are chances of the melting of glaciers and the warming this ocean. Now here you can see the large simultaneous heat waves are growing more common. The China, America, Europe, and India have all been stricken recently, and scientists are starting to understand why certain far-flung places get hit at once. Now, these heat waves we are observing day by day. It's a sudden drastic change in the climate, it's sudden drastic change in the weather, there's a sudden the cloud busting we are observing. So that all it's resulting or it's a results due to the climatic change. Around the globe in summer 2022, wave after wave of heat crested and broke. The heat waves, particularly in Europe and Asia, caused thousands of heat-related deaths. On July 19, the UK had its hottest day ever recorded as temperature topped 104 degree Fahrenheit, that is 14 degrees Celsius. So we all are worrying that if this climate goes on changing, so that results in, that will affect the health of the human being, that affects the life which is present on this earth. Now, this is another threats of this climatic change. The global sea levels are rising as a result of human caused, the global warming, with recent rates being unprecedented over the past 2,500 plus years. Sea levels is rise caused primarily and by two factors related to global warming: the added water from melting ice sheets and glaciers, and the expansion of seawater as it. Now, this is a big threat. We know it very well that already the Earth is called as a blue planet, and but the water is also in the form of glaciers, and there is a threat if due to increase in the climate because of these green gases, so the glaciers will melt, and due to this melting there will be increase in the sea level, increase in the water level. Okay. The presence of more salt water on the shores will disturb the ecosystem. As there is an increase in the sea level, the presence of more salt water in the shores will disturb the ecosystem, resulting in the vanishing of different kinds of plants. In addition, it would be make the soil and plants. The wildlife on the beaches would also be hurt by the rapid changes in the climatic conditions. So these climatic change have an effect on not only the troposphere, it has an effect on the stratosphere, it has an effects on the atmosphere, like it has an effect on arboreal, it has an effect on the terrestrial, it has an effect on aquatic zones. So all these are the layers which is present on this that will affect by this climatic change. Nearly 30% of the US population lives in coastal area that may be vulnerable to sea level rise. So that is also a threat. The researchers have confirmed that rising sea levels caused by melting glaciers are slowing Earth's rotation. So this is another important factors of the climatic change. The researchers have confirmed that rising sea levels caused by melting glaciers are slowing Earth's rotation. As ice melt, it redistributes mass across the planet's surface, slightly changing the rate at which Earth spins. So here you can see that it will also affect the Earth's rotation. Just a minute, just technical problem.
There is some technical problem from Dr. Ravindra Shivsagar. Within a few seconds, he will join. Within a few seconds.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Is my screen is visible?
No, sir.
Hmm?
No, sir.
So just check. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah,
Now
sorry
it
for
is.
the, yeah, sorry for the distance. Okay. So am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we have discussed that because of this climatic change, there is a lot of changes in at the world level. But if we think about just our India, so here we can see the example of this. So is the screen is visible, sir?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Yeah. Okay. Now we have seen the changes which occurs due to the climatic change at the global level, but there is also some examples because of this climatic changes. The flood hit western in Maharashtra in 2009. Heavy rainfall and flooding over the last 10 days has wreaked havoc in Maharashtra, leaving 84 people dead and 66 other injured. The
Sir,
injured. Yes.
now you are visible. Your video was off. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. has erect evoke in Maharashtra, leaving 84 people dead and 66 other injured. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued red alert in Mumbai, Thane, Konkan region, and even the Gadchiroli district. So that we are continuously facing this problem of the climatic changes, that sudden there's a cloud busting, sudden rainfall in a particular area that results into the flood. So this is the best example that we are observing, that Mumbai, Thane, Konkan region and the Gadchiroli, that flood hit Western March 2019. This is the another example of flooding, and the light side has okay. The flooding and the landslide has claimed about 20 lives in Himachal Pradesh, according to official, and 9 people have died in Punjab and Haryana, 7 in Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, and 3 Uttar Pradesh. So this is the changes.
Sir, screen is not visible, sir.
Screen is not visible.
Yes, sir.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
So scientists say climate change is responsible for the severe downpour, with Delhi recording 153 millimeter of rain in 24 hours on Sunday, and the highest single since 1982. Dr. Roxy Kaul, a climate scientist in the Indian Institute of Tropical Medicine, said the global warming had intensified the monsoon season across the region. The monsoon patterns have changed in response to the global warming. Instead of rains, spreads moderately through the season. Now we have a long, dry, and deficient periods interspersed with heavy rainfall events that cause flood. Yeah, the Dr. Aditi Mukherjee, the director of climate change impact platform at CGAI Nepal, a global research partnership program, says that the destruction from the flooding is particularly acute because of excessive infrastructure development in the region, such as the dams and the roads. So even we have observed a flood-like situation occurs in Maharashtra due to heavy rainfall in this Saturday. So this is the scenario even of the Gadchiroli. The several parts of the Maharashtra have been witnessed heavy rainfall over the past few days amongst this field. So here we can observe how the life has been affected due to the heavy rainfall and due to the climatic change. Several parts of the Maharashtra have been witnessed heavy rainfall over the past few days. Now, all these are the drastic change in the environment, the drastic change in the climate. It's all because of this global warming. And for the factors which are responsible for this global warming is only the greenhouse gases which are emitting from these earth surface. So everywhere we are observing the flood-like situations in various parts. Now this is another ozone depletion. When the chlorine and the bromine atoms comes into contact with the ozone in the stratosphere, they destroy ozone molecules. One chlorine atoms can destroy over the one near about 1 lakh ozone molecules before it is removed from the stratosphere. The ozone can be destroyed from quickly more than it is naturally created. And the main reason for the ozone holes are the chlorofluorocarbons, carbon tetrafluoride, methyl bromide, and the hydrofluorocarbons. All these are the gases which are releasing from the various industries, from the refrigerated industries, from the transportations, from the using of the natural products, and these are the responsible for resulting into the depletion of the ozone layer. And the most hazardous in this, the chlorofluorocarbon. So these are the, here you can see in the pictures the various effects of the climatic change. The hotter temperature, as greenhouse gas concentration rise, so does the global surface temperature. The last decade, 2011-2020, is the warmest on record since 1980s. Each decade has been warmer than the previous one. Nearly all land areas are seeing more hot days and heat waves. Higher temperature increase heat-related illness and make working outdoors more difficult. Wildfire starts more easily and spread more rapidly when conditions are hotter. Temperatures in the Arctic waves at least twice as the past global. In last 2 years, we have observed that the whole world is suffering from this pandemic corona, and the various scientists, they have studied whether the transmission of these viruses, whether it is due to the changes in the temperature, or whether what are the factors which are responsible for as it becomes pandemic. Because there are epidemic diseases, there are endemic diseases, but why this coronavirus has been become too much pandemic? So various scientists, they are also studying the factors which are responsible for the transmission of this disease across the globe. So another effect of this climate change, the more severe storms. The destructive storms have become more intense and more frequent in many regions. As temperature rise, more moisture evaporates, which exacerbates extreme rainfall and flooding, causing more destructive storms. The frequency and the extent of the tropical storms is also affected by the warming ocean. Cyclones, then hurricanes, and the typhoons feed on warm waters at the ocean surface. Such storms often destroy homes, communities, causing deaths and huge economic losses. So this is the facts where you can observe the more severe storms because of this climatic change. Then increased drought, the severe droughts, the climate change is changing over availability, changing water availability, making it scarcer in more regions. The global warming exacerbates water shortage in already water stressed region and is leading to an increased risk of agricultural droughts affecting crops and ecological droughts, increasing the vulnerability of ecosystem. So here you can see how the increased drought are affecting the livestock. The drought can also stir destructive sand and dust storms that can move billions of tons sand across the continents. The deserts are expanding, reducing lands for growing food. Many people now face the threat of not having enough water on a regular basis. So this is the increased drought is one of the result of the climatic change. This also we have discussed the warming rise in ocean. The ocean soak up most of the heat from global warming. The rate at which the ocean is warming strongly increased over the past 2 decades across all depth of the ocean. As the ocean warms, its volume increases since water expands, it gets warmer. Melting ice sheets also cause sea levels to rise, threatening coastal and islands communities. In addition, the ocean absorbs carbon dioxide, keeping it more from the atmosphere. but more carbon dioxide makes the ocean more acidic, which endangers marine and the life, the coral reefs. This is another impact of this climate change, the loss of species. The climate change poses the risk to the survival of the species on lands and in the ocean. This risk increases as temperature climbs, exacerbated by climate change. The world is losing species at a rate of 1,000 times greater than at any other time in recorded human history. 1 million species are at high risk of becoming extinct within the next few decades. The forest fires, extreme weather, invasive pests, and the diseases are among many threats related to the climate change. Some species will be able to relocate and survive, but others will. So, because of the emission of these greenhouse gases, the trapping the solar energy on the Earth's surface, which are the factors which are contributing to the climatic change. And if this climate goes on changing, the Earth becomes hotter. And as the Earth becomes hotter, then you can see so many threats to the life. The factors are affecting on this Earth. Now, looking to this, we are quite happy the India is hosting about the G20, and in G20, one of the theme is the climate change, the eco restoration, that is also considered in the G20. The G20 formed in 1919 as a group of 20 of the world's largest economies that meets regularly to coordinate global policy on trade, health, climate, and other issues. The previous summits have addressed the COVID-19 pandemic, 2008 financial crisis, the Iranian nuclear program, and the Syrian civil war. The India holds the presidency of G20 from 1st December 2022 to 30 November 2023. And this group of G20 is the premier forum for the international economic cooperation. And in this G20, the climatic change has been discussed. And another part that we are thinking that because of this climatic change, the Earth is destroying the life. So what are the things where we can think about, where we can contribute? So we can contribute about the sustainable development. Now the time has come that every individual thinks about the sustainable development. The communities will think about the various social issues, the various environment issues, the various economic issues, and bringing all these issues, then how we can go for the sustainable development. This is one of the important factors that will save the Earth. There are so many international efforts for environment conservation. The United Nations Conference on Environment and the Development 1992, the Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit, Rio Declaration on Environment and Development, a series of principles defining the rights and the responsibilities of the states. Agenda 21, a global plan of action to promote sustainable development. General Assembly Special Session on the Environment 1997, World Summit on Sustainable Development 2002, Johannesburg Declaration on Sustainable Development, the UN Conference on Sustainable Development, Rio 20, the future. Then this is the government efforts. In 1980, they have set up the Ministry for Environment. In 1985, changed to Ministry for Environment and Forest. In 2005, portal under National E-Governance Scheme. In 2006, National Environment Policy. In 2014, the Ministry for Environment, Forest and Climatic Change. So all these are the sectors, they are working on the various issues, the climatic change, the deforestations and restorations, then working on. So we are quite happy that India is playing a very crucial role in G20 for hosting this and discussing the various issues on this climatic. So here I want to address that if you go for the sustainable development, so that will definitely save the earth, that will definitely save a life, the save us all, the keep our earth green and clean. So it's time that raise your voice against every act of harming the earth. Love the earth and be happy. Our climate is changing. Why are not we? So our climate is changing. Now it is the time that we have to change and we have to go for this sustainable development. So with this, I will end up with this talk on the climate change. So here I express my heartfelt gratitude towards the organizer, the principal, Dr. L.H. Khalsa sir, the organizing secretary, Dr. Jayesh Papadkar, then Professor S.B. Kumare, Professor N.A. Borode, Professor D.W. Shahare, and all the management for inviting me as a talk on this climatic change. So thank you very much for this invite.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Ravindra Shirsagar, sir, for your valuable guidance and nice presentation on climate change, their causes and effects on biodiversity. Now I request again Dr. Jayesh Papadkar, sir, to give brief introduction of our next keynote speaker, Dr. Shyamkant Talmale, sir. Papadkar, sir.
Thank you, madam. First of all, I will express my gratitude to the Dr. Ravindra Shirsagar, sir, on behalf of this national webinar. On the one word, he was agree and ready to deliver the speech on this particular rising and burning topic, that is a climate change and biodiversity. Thank you once again, sir. Thank you very much. Second session, in our second session, speaker is Honorable Dr. Shyamkant Talmale. He is Scientist C, Zoological Survey of India, ZSI, Western Regional Center, Pune. Number of the book chapter, papers in various 67 journals, conference proceeding, online articles, research projects completed, and role he is delivering on the topic, role of faunal study in biodiversity conservation and in respect to Indian mammal, particularly Indian mammal. So I request Dr. Shyamkant Talmale, sir, to deliver his invited speak on particular his topic, role of faunal study in biodiversity conservation in respect to Indian mammal. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm sharing my PPT.
Thank you, sir.
Screen is visible, sir?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Okay. So before I starting that presentation, respected Dr. Khalsa sir, Papadkar sir, and conveners from the college, I'm thankful for inviting me for this talk. Today's that topic on that biodiversity conservation, that role of faunal studies in biodiversity conservation. What does that role play? That play role of that faunal studies impact on that biodiversity conservation, and that my subject, my work on that Indian mammals. So I given that topic, the role of faunal studies in biodiversity conservation in respect of Indian mammals. So we discuss on that what is biodiversity, faunal diversity in India, that conservation of biodiversity in different ecosystems, role of studies and generated data in conservation of Indian mammals, role of Zoological Survey of India in faunal surveys and documentation, and lastly, that strategies for conservation of mammals. So that India is very much diverse in physically, geographically, because that heterogeneous terrains are there, biologically also, and culturally diverse. So biodiversity is simply that term is variety of organisms available on the globe. The World Conservation Monitoring Centers, WCMC, of that UN Environment Program has identified total about 17 mega diverse countries in the world, and India is one of among them. In India, the Eastern Himalaya and Western Ghats that house the majority of species as well as the large number of endemic species. So they're declared as hotspots or mega diverse points for the country. So I'm sharing this endemism in India. So through this figure, you see that the total number of species in India, about 12% are endemic through our country. Birds are 4.5%, reptiles are 45.8%, amphibians are 55.8%, and plants are 33% endemism in India. So more diverse are in that endemism in herpetofauna, like that geckos, snakes, and that frogs and caecilians. So India is divided for geographic studies. By geographic studies, India is divided into 10 geographical parts. This was Trans-Himalayan range, then Himalayan, then Indian deserts, that semi-arid zone in Rajasthan, Gujarat part, then Western Ghats, then Deccan Peninsula, from that Bihar to this Kanyakumari, then Gangetic Plains in Bihar, Jharkhand area, Northeast India, islands like that Andaman Nicobar Islands and Lakshadweeps, and that coastal region from the Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, and West Bengal. Other than that, biogeographic zones also divided into provinces for different studies of faunal elements or geographical elements. They are divided into number of that provinces in each the zones. So that faunal species found in India, recently that Zoological Survey of India published that Animal Discoveries 2022. In that profile is given. About 1,03,920 species are found in India. Of that arthropods, including insects and other animals, invertebrates, about 77,776 species found in India, and chordates, that vertebrates, are 7,044 species. So this number of diverse fauna is there. That minor phyla is there. I'm not knowing that minor phyla also, but you may Google it. That poriferous sponges are there. Then there's Deichnecmina that are related to roundworms. There are jellyfishes, comb jellies, perimelids, that mud dragons. These are number of minor phyla also there, and that's major groups. So that in vertebrates, fishes are 3,532 species in India. Amphibians are 450 species. In compared to that world data, reptiles are 738 species, birds are 1,346 species, and mammals are 436 species. They are also increasing now that bat species are new to science from that Northeast India and from Maharashtra also. So their number is increasing, but this data is that December 2022. So that all these fauna are preserved in these spatial ecosystems, different ecosystem having different faunas or common sharing common fauna. This is just like the forest, grasslands, wetlands, mangroves, coral reefs, deserts, and cold deserts. So in forest, that championship in 1968, India's forest divided into 5 main categories and subdivided into 16 groups. But in recently, that Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education, Dehradun, reassessed the forest types in 2013, and that is now the 10 new groups and 44 subgroups are there. The tropical wet evergreen, tropical semi-evergreen, tropical moist deciduous, littoral or swamp, dry deciduous, dry tropical thorn and scrub, southern mountain, northern subtropical broadleaves, and coniferous, Himalayan temperate, and alpine forest. These all 10 having different types of depend upon the ecosystem and that the forest areas. The fauna is varied one, because the semi-arid fauna is different in rodents also. Some of them that most of the species are gerbils are restricted to Rajasthan and Gujarat area, but not found in our Maharashtra area. So that way that are distributed in throughout the geographic regions and also these forest types. Grasslands were very much important for the key species like that Schedule 1 species that blackbuck are. So they are dependent, because these species are very much depend upon that grass species or other the plant species. So these particular species are restricted to that particular area, and that grasslands are very much helpful for that faunal elements which are dependent on that grasslands. Wetlands also very much important to the fauna, just like through that planktons to the chordates like fish and other that are reptiles which are dependent upon the water. So that in India, that Prime Minister Modi declared that 75 Ramsar wetlands, that 75 Amrut Sarovars. So that dedicated Amrut Sarovars now recently 2-3 that declared last year. So in Maharashtra, that Lonar Lake, Nandur Madhveshwar, and Thane creeks are under that Ramsar sites. That faunal diversity of Ramsar wetlands in India, that Banerjee, our director, in their papers, in recent paper 2023, given that faunal diversity of Ramsar wetlands in India accounts for over 7.0% of the total fauna of India, which includes over that 4,538 species of invertebrates, 1,691 species of vertebrates, and 562 species of protozoans. So see, that's how that wetlands are very much important for the preserving that fauna. Then mangroves, they provide many ecological, economic benefits, such that that protecting that coastlines, supporting biodiversity, and that providing livelihoods of the local communities. And that mangroves are very much important for that marine or brackish fauna. And they are in India, there are Sundarbans, Bhitarkanika, Koringa, North Andaman, and Gulf of Kutch or Kori Creek. In Maharashtra, some that area, coastal areas like Malwan and Ratnagiri area also, and Mumbai area also having that mangrove forest. Coral reefs, these are the shallow water tropical marine ecosystems in India that Gulf of Mannar, Kutch, Andaman Nicobar, and Lakshadweep Islands have that coral reefs. They are underwater structures made of that calcium carbonate secreted by the corals, which are tiny marine animals. That reefs are among the most diverse and productive ecosystem on Earth, hosting thousands of species of fish, invertebrates, plants, and other organisms like marine mammals, also dolphins and porpoises and other animals. To conserve and protect the coral reefs in India, various initiatives have been taken by the government and other organizations, such as that establishing that marine protected areas, just like in Malwan area, monitoring that coral health, restoring damaged reefs, and creating awareness among the public. Deserts are the dry areas that receive very little rainfall and have that extreme temperatures. So that a particular fauna is available there, and that adaptive characters are there. Some reptiles, some mammals also very much important to that sand dunes area. The desert can be hot or cold. in India, that hot one, that Thar Desert in Rajasthan, Gujarat, Punjab, and Haryana, that semi-arid climate having that sand dunes, rocky hills, salt lakes, and that grasslands. So that homes to many animals such like the camels, blackbucks, chinkaraj, desert foxes, and that GIB, Great Indian Bustards. And second one, that cold deserts in Trans-Himalayan region, in that Himachal Pradesh and Ladakh area, that climate is very much suitable to that snow cap, that mountains, glacier, rivers, and some that gerbils and that some fauna of that marmots, or that wild kiang is there. So other than that ecosystems, Government of India reserves some areas for protecting the animals in situ preservations for available in that protected area. So that India declares that biosphere reserves, that 18 in India. 12 of that 18 biosphere reserves are part of that world network of biosphere reserves based on the UNESCO man and that biosphere program list. So that biosphere reserves having is a very big area, having sanctuaries, then that some rural area also, agricultural fields, some that protected conservation areas like tiger reserves also. So this is a very much big that biosphere reserves in India, having that Achan Kamar biosphere reserve in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, that and then that Pachmadi biosphere reserve. So these are that near to us. Then national parks, that 104 national parks in India. In Maharashtra, that is Chandoli, Gugamal, Navegaon, Penj, that Sanjay Gandhi Borivali, and Tadoba national parks. So then wildlife sanctuaries is declared by Forest Department of State Forest Department. Around 567 wildlife sanctuaries in India. That Maharashtra having 49, and that 97 in Andaman Nicobar Islands. So, sorry. Patil Sahiban. Dr. Sachin Patil. Sorry. So that tiger reserves, 54 tiger reserves in India, and Maharashtra having that Melghat, Navegaon Nagzira tiger reserve, Penj tiger reserve, Sayadri, Tadoba Andhari, and that Bors tiger reserve in Wardha district. Some are important bird areas which that preserves very much that endemic birds or that visitors, winter visitors from abroad. The 554 important bird areas are declared in India, and about 25 plus are in Maharashtra, like that Ujni Reservoir and Toralmar Reserve Forest. This Ujni Reservoir having visitors, foreign visitors, birds are there visited, and that Toralmar Reserve Forest having that forest owlet, especially that endemic species to India is available in Toralmar region. So then important coastal and marine biodiversity areas, that ICMBA, the 18 marine protected areas, that estuaries, backwaters, sand dunes, intertidal zones, rocky shorelines, seagrass meadows, lagoons, intermediate open area. These are very much important areas having that marine, preserved that marine fauna and protected by the government. So this that's for that declared that ICMB areas. Then sacred groves, many communities like that preserved that nearby that forest or village forest for that dedicating to the deity like that Maruti, Vagoba, Veera, Bhairova, or Khandoba or Shirkai. So that purpose is that that dedicated forest preserved by that communities. So that, about 2,820 that sacred groves are available in Maharashtra. Then critically wildlife habitats, that recently declared that 10 critical wildlife habitat in that Maharashtra, that Mayureshwar Supe, Bor, New Bor, Narnala, Lonar Wildlife Sanctuary, Gugamal National Park, Edshi Ramlinga, wildlife sanctuary, Naigaon Mayur, that wildlife sanctuary, and that Deulgaon Rekuri wildlife sanctuary. So these that critical wildlife habitats will be inviolate areas within national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. So nobody that enter or any that just that linear projects like road and railway lines will be prohibited. So that's why that the fauna is very much important for area. Because that corridors are very much important to move the animals from that core area to buffer and that to regenerative area. There's conservation reserves. They act like the wildlife migration corridors. Recently, that 12 new conservation reserves were declared in Maharashtra. That's also the very much important corridors are very much important because the main roads and going through that, so that wildlife during that crossing that corridors or that highways, very much road kills are there. So government that preserves that conservation reserves. Some eco-sensitive zones around that protected also declared are eco-sensitive zones, just like that preserve that sanctuary area or that tiger reserves or national parks having around 4 to 5 kilometer or 10 kilometer area are very much eco-sensitive, because that fauna is migrating outside. They are not having that boundaries just like human beings. So that animals will cross the boundaries and going through that rural areas and all these things. So that government will that protect that eco-sensitive zones also, and some that community reserves also there. Some just like sacred groves that peoples are preserving that forest. So that factors how that biodiversity loss. So through that human intervention activities, just Sirsagar sir told that in his that presentations, like anthropogenic activities, that loss of that biodiversity, the growth and development of civilization, you see in this past that 20 years back or 30 years back, our village having nearby that forest areas also, but people that's due to urbanization and all this, that growth and development of civilization, that loss of biodiversity are there. Because if we surveyed 50 years back or 40 years back, the fauna is there and that's specimens with us, but now we are doing that surveys in that area, the fauna is not there. So that convert into that agricultural land or for that urbanization for buildings purpose. Then multi-species ecosystem to monoculture, that man changes that ecosystem to that monoculture practices, so that they are dependent that fauna on that multi-species plants or that ecosystem. Now they are not there. The fauna is not is there. So on that, due to that monoculture practices, the faunal loss is there. Then fragmentation of forest, the result in the loss of biodiversity. Fragmentation, because that continuous forest was there, and now then in between some urbanizations are there due to forest cuts. This fragmentation was there. So fauna is now not preserved in that area. So that way also loss of biodiversity. And then loss of species diversity result into loss of genetic diversity naturally, because that each and every species or that individual having their genetic data or genetic pool. So they are carrying to generation, because that loss of species, that genetic data will also loss. Therefore, there needs a regular assessment of the species, that flora and fauna found in that particular habitat or ecosystem or protected area is very much needful for that biodiversity assessment to indicate that loss of which species are lost or which species are increasing. So this another topic is that role of studies and that generated data in conservation of Indian mammals. So this mammals is my topic. So that's why I'm sharing my views in that way, how that studies are very much important to generate the data, and that generated data is useful for the conservation of that mammals or conservation of biodiversity. So in mammals, they are categorized like that small size, medium size, or large size. Depend upon that size, or 100 centimeter above, or that 30 to 100 centimeter, or less than 30 centimeter, like that rodents, shrews, and bats. So for study purpose, that very much important to study the species or individual. The large size mammals and medium size mammals will identify through that photographs or by observing them. But in small size that mammals, it's very much important to at least one specimen of that roost or any that area for confirmation of species is required. For that collection of specimen is very much requirement. For that, very much appliances or methodologies will use for bat, that mist nets or other nets will use, and for that rodents or that terrestrial mammals, smaller one, that rodent, shrews, like. So you will that use that Sherman traps or wonder traps or different types of small traps. After collecting that individual, that specimen will preserve in the lab, and that is also very tedious work, because if not preserved, that specimen will rotten and not useful in the future. So for that, we will preserve that specimen in that 70% alcohol primarily, and that in formalin, and also after fixation, that specimen is preserved in finally preserved in the alcohol. For identification of specimens, various keys will use. For that rodents, I use that element fauna. For that bats, use that very much bats and Harrison, and other that literature also there. After identification of species, we will document and publish that data. So that published data is very much important for assessing that animal. And after that, if that species is in very category, in endangered category or any critically endangered category, we will that protect that area or that species. Will that policies will make. So before that, we morphological study, we need that a specimen will preserve, and that will dedicate the sacrifice animal. But in the studies of mammals is also possible through that non-destructive methods or invasive methods. Just like this first one, that behavioral studies. In that, I will showing that in the slides that the rooster in the the pteropus, that medius, that flying foxes are there. So in our urban or rural areas also, villages having this type of roots. So we'll observe that there are no need of that specimen for identification, because this identified species and very much observed through our camera and binocular also. So we need that migration studies we will do, or how that breeding will be done. So these are observation will take without any disturbing that roost also. In second image, we'll show that two langurs are there, langur individuals. To see this tail carriage. One of these is a southern type of tail carriage, and one is that northern tail carriage. How is this occur in one area? So on that way, we'll study that roost, troop. What type of that individuals? How many individuals are there? How they are intermixing? How their breeding is there or not? Or they are separated for only for that food purpose? So that way we will study in behavioral studies in that langurs or primates also. These pictures I have taken in that Marathwada area. The GPS collar for tracking animal in the jungles or that protected area, tiger reserves, we will use this wildlife tracking device to our collar ID. So through that, we will monitoring that individual this how he will go, or in what region he is migrating or going to that, or in that in the habitat is there, or is migrate to other area. So this wildlife tracking device is also important in the population studies and that individual observation. This is camera trapping. So see these pictures. This camera traps also used for the population study or that individual study that established in the pathway of that animal. And in night, these cameras will take the images of that animal. So that way we fitted that camera traps in that area. So that animal, when that animal goes, we will take that face photo or that side photo, and the near we will establish in the near water hole. So that number of animals will come for water. So that way also we will individually when that capturing photo, if that identifying individuals are there with having the stripes and all the tigers. So we'll identify number of individuals are in available in that protected area or that range area. Through PUGMARs, this PUGMARs also very much important for identification of individuals, and that in population studies, when that during the census, the forest department use this that PUGMARs. PUGMARs very much identical and very much identifying characters. They are having that male, female, also distinguishing characters of male and female individuals having that PUGMARs. So this type of invasive methods will also identify and population study will do. Through that scat analysis, because these cats having the food which that individual have taken. So during that scat, that material we analyze through that hair that sample or that bone sample will identify which animal you are that taken or being available in his diet. Another that through this scat, we will take the sample for DNA studies also. For that, we'll make individual to individual having different data. So that way, we'll that population studies, that DNA study of that scat is very much important. This is palm civet. That food is that seeds of fruits they have eaten by palm civet. These are ungulate scats. Having if we will study the scats of that ungulates, so that the food part or the plant parts also there. So we'll in microscopic studies will identify the that food plant, and we will that that management studies will do, and that action plans that forest department will plant that plants which are edible by that ungulates. So will the plantation will do in that area. To see that insectivores, earlier see that carnivores, then that herbivores, and these see that insectivores like this is of hedgehog scat. When that analyze, see these mouth parts and that area of that termite which they have taken as a food. So that way we will food and feeding habit of study of that animals also identify, and also we will indirectly identify that fauna which is in the diet of that animals, so that available without any collecting any specimens from that area. So DNA barcode already that discussed. So without any that's a roadkill also, we will take that one tissue sample from that roadkill, also identified that animals, and that's very much important in the genetics and phylogenetic studies. It's trichotaxonomy. When that hair samples from scat will collect, and then prepared that slides, that hair impression pattern. So this type of various different family level or genus level, we will identify up to genus or species level identification through that hair impression patterns. This is a mosaic way or that wavy way or indirect or complete waves are there. So these types of studies are very much useful in that major animals like a tiger, leopard. So through that, they identified that prey material, material in invasive way. This owl pellet analysis. What are the importance of that owl pellets? Owl that eat or material whole that rat, that shrew or other small birds also. And after 7 or 8 hours after digestion, they regurgite that food, that undigested material, regurgite in that roosting place in the form of this old type these pellets. And the ornithologist or that studies on that food feeding habit of that particular owl species, they analyze the food material. See that one pellet I have studied and that analyze that all that bone material. So important that the skull material identifiable very much, and I identified that bird that predate on that shrew, that Suncus murinus. So different food having the different material, and the pre-material we identify through that small one. Even that small 1 mm, 2 mm that teeth also identifiable for that species level identification, and will identify number of 20-30 species of that rodents, shrews and bats also. That owls, see these 2 species, Rogetes and Xenopterus. These teeth are not showing, but only depend on the sockets of teeth. We will identify that this is Rogetes and this is the Cyanopterus. See in this slides there how much that that prey material is identifiable through that pellet analysis. See this type of this the curves present in that upper molar in that rodents. So how do you distinguish that in the ratus or bandicoot, golunda or tatera? And that incisors is also very much important as grooved or not grooved. Even that there is sockets of that first molars are very much important. This how much that 3 to 5 that sockets are there, 3 sockets are there, 6 sockets are there. Also that interpalatal foramina is a very much important character through that owl pellet analysis, because in that evidence, more evidences will confirm that more reach to that species level. Depend upon that the evidences are found in that scats or that in the pellets will reach up to that species level. These 2 manuals we prepared, and they are very much important through that identification of that pellets of the owls, even in that arthropods like insects and other fauna, vertebrates like that geckos, that snakes, or other that frogs, birds also, small birds, and all that small mammals, that rodent, shrews and bats. The importance of available information and new generated data, how they conserve that species through this generated data. So this IUCN, that International Union for Conservation of Nature, is a global authority of status of the natural world and the measures needed to safeguard. So these IUCN, that body will assess the species, globally assess that species in which category. There's a number of 9 categories are there. 9 means that not evaluated is not a category, but up to 8 are categories that the species is extinct in the wild, critically endangered, vulnerable, near threatened, least concern, or that data deficient. Depend upon that population of that species in area of occupancy, they categorize these red list categories and criteria. See, one example is there. What these studies are important for that reassessment of the species. This is the Kondana rat is found in our that Kondana fort or Siagat fort. Earlier, in 2008, this species in critically endangered category. Because that is area of occupancy is only 1 square kilometer, and in that individual found only on that plateau of that Kondana fort. But after that, in 2019, studies by that Samir Bajru from BNHS and other organizations that having this species is found on that 4 other locations, that's Torna, Rajgarh, and other forts. So that this criteria will change, and that IUCN reassess that species as an endangered category, that critically endangered to endangered. So that the study is very much important of the species for that assessment and that conservation of the species. The role of taxonomy in identification confiscated material. Our department is the forensic wildlife division, and we identify that material received from that forest department and police departments that seize from that peoples. This material, just like that claws of the tiger, then leopards or other animals, then that scaly anteater, pangolin scales are there. A number of items are there. There is not a limit. This is mammal material, but there is some reptiles material also, that Varanus penis as sold as that Hath Jodi, and very much very cruelty is there. And these brushes are made up of mongoose hairs, because if that mongoose hairs are there, that mongoose is under schedule category. How this will identify through the taxonomy, because that hair impression patterns differentiate that animal to animal, and we will identify the species. These brushes are made up of that mongoose hairs. This wildlife crime is very much in throughout India, and the government organizations like the law and enforcement departments like forest and police officials, that wildlife crime control bureau, state forensic laboratories, that's Zoological Survey of India, Kolkata, and other all 16 regional centers, and that Wildlife Institute of India. These all that institutes having that facilities for identification of this confiscated material. Under the law, the species are protected under this Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Now amendment done in 2022, and that intended to provide a comprehensive national legal framework for wildlife protection with conservation of species as the main criteria. The strategy includes the total environmental protection and conservation, with the assumption that all such areas should be free from human activities. The Act prohibits hunting of wildlife, protects their habitats, and restrains trade in wildlife, animals, and trophies. So they categorize animal in the different schedules. That Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 having that wild animals like mammals, birds, reptiles, insects. That covers 41 species of mammals in Schedule 1 and 10 species of Schedule 2 from that Maharashtra, that excluding marine mammals. And Schedule 3 having that endemic plants. And Schedule 4, this now included CITES animals, which are in international trade. This Appendix 1, 2, 3 categories are there, and that all the 3 categories included in Schedule 4 of the Wildlife Protection Amendment Act 2022. This is a CITES, that Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. Some species from the other countries, which are very much important for that country, that traded into other countries. So the CITES parties regulate wildlife trade through that controls, regulations, and certification on the species listed in 3 appendices, that 1, 2, and 3. And now these all 3 appendices are included in the Schedule 4 of Wildlife Protection Act, Amendment Act 2022. Then National Biodiversity Authority is there. There is controls very much that biodiversity rules are there, and through that way we will not shift our material or tissue or other biological fauna to other countries for preservation of the species. And now that the Biological Diversity Amendment Act 2023 is passed in the Parliament and Gazette notification on that 3rd August 2023, for that facilitate the commercial use of traditional resources to promote Ayush industries, and that fast tracking the patents application process. In the Biological Diversity Act, that biodiversity preservation in this panchayat level also, that people biodiversity and biodiversity register is there. So people from that panchayat level also will that enlist or prepare the checklist of animals around in that village or around village area, and they may register that fauna and their importance in the people's biodiversity register, and they will protect that animals in covers under that Biological Diversity rules and Biodiversity Act. In Maharashtra also, Maharashtra State Biodiversity Board is there, and that established under Section 22 of the Biological Diversity Act 2002 by Government of Maharashtra. And the species which not included in schedules, any schedules of the Wildlife Protection Act, they may, if that fauna, important fauna is available in that panchayat level or that state level, they may include it in the separate list to conserve that fauna. Zoological Survey of India also periodical assessment and that evaluation will do, and doing that regularly, and publish documents for the purpose of the species protection, and that documents will use the forest authorities for their management. This Threatened Animals of India in 83, then the Red Data Book on Indian Animals, the part 1 for that vertebrata and the part 2 for butterflies, published in 1994, and then the validation of Threatened Animals of India in published in 2006. So Zoological Survey of India having these 16 regional centers distributed throughout India through that habitat wise. So through that their jurisdiction, they surveyed that area, and that faunal that list will publish and reported to the ministry, and that list or that reports will important for the documentation in faunal diversity region. So there were Shillong having in Meghalaya, then Pune, Jabalpur, Dehradun, Chennai having 2, that Southern Regional Center and the Maran Biological Regional Center. So, and then Port Blair, then Solan, the Solan, Himachal Pradesh, their jurisdiction having the Trans-Himalayan region and Himachal Pradesh area, that Spiti Valley, and in Hyderabad, this freshwater regional center, their jurisdiction is throughout India. They have studied freshwater that lakes and other aquatic fauna. Particularly, then Jodhpur is that semi-arid studied the semi-arid fauna of the region Gujarat and Jodhpur area. Then the scanning Digha having this Sundarban area. Then Calicut, that Kozhikode is studied that where southern Western Ghat area, Behrampur Road, the brackish water of that Mahanadi and Bay of Bengal region, the Itanagar and that Arunachal Pradesh. So this throughout India, that JDS has spread throughout India and studied fauna of their regional This other than that, they ZSI studied that through that rapid surveys for assessing biodiversity in that national park, tiger reserve, and sanctuary. Number of sanctuaries and tiger reserves studied by documented by Geological Survey of India, and particularly that Pune regional centers studied that Melghat, Tadoba Andhari, Page, Sanjay Gandhi National Park, Chandoli, Lonar, Bhimashankar, Radhanagari, Pansat, Koyana, Navegaon, Gautala. And these are all documents are available in our website, and anybody will download and study that fauna. Also, the Geological Survey of India surveyed district-wise, that published state faunas, Maharashtra fauna, that part 1, part 2, and part 3, in 3 parts published in, and that fauna of Goa and fauna of Karnataka. These all 3 are published by that, surveyed by the WRC Pune area, and documented the regional fauna. Status surveys of that endemic and endangered species also surveyed by that Zoological Survey of India. In Pune, that Pune office surveyed that endemic, earlier that endemic, but now is found in other areas. So that Otomus rotteni, that free-tailed bat, and that Indian edible nest suplet, that our that west coast of the Maharashtra region having this species. Through that status survey, both the species are now covered under that Indian Wildlife Protection Act Schedule 1. Before that status survey, they are not included in the protected schedules of Act. But after study and that publication of these documents, they are covered under Schedule 1 of the Act. Geological Survey of India also studied the distributional patterns of the species. This is Atlas of Odonata we published of Western Ghats area. See all dots showing there that distribution species wise. This is the common map, but in the document, when you see that species wise distribution patterns are there. So on what basis? They are that published documents by the JTSI or published data from the researchers from the area or other regional centers. They are contributing that data, and that data through that GIS that patterns are showing that distribution. And if that endemic to only that point locations are there, so we will very much that categories to that critically endangered or near threatened category. Then we'll that maintain that national zoological collection at Kolkata and our regional centers, and that now that type materials also will preserving here, and number of species from in Pune area 1960s or earlier specimens collected from the surveys are preserved in our museum and or in a depository. And in other regional centers also, in headquarters also, number of types material and other specimens are in headquarters. The 100 years back collection also preserved in the same condition that will preserved at past. This JDSI published a number of different category of publications, that memoirs, records, occasional papers, bibliography, state fauna, handbooks, wetland, ecosystem, red data books, conservation area series, and pictorial guides. These all are available in this faunaofindia.nic.in. You may noted that website, faunaofindia.nic.in. We'll go that this type of the digital archives are there, and we will download all 100 years data. This records Indian Museum since that 1800 something. This data is also in PDF format. We will freely download from that records, memoirs, occasional papers, that fauna of British India, fauna of India, state fauna series, conservation India. These all publication will download from this website, and that data we will analyze that distribution of the species, and with this also helpful for the newcomers for identification. This fauna of British India and fauna of India is very much important for newcomers, which for identification of the species. Geological Survey of India also published a journal, and that's NAS rated and under that UGC care listed. And this is free of cost, and very much all that species published data is if that researchers working on that particular species or that distribution pattern or other like taxonomic papers will publish in that records of the Geological Survey of India. And this is a regular journal. This is online journal available. You may send your papers also. This last strategies for conservation of mammals or the other that biodiversity. So for that, you may preserve that in situ conservation, means that conserve that species in their natural habitat, like that tiger reserve or that sanctuary or that national park. And also that ex situ conservation, in that to maintain that living organism in the zoos, just for that the natural habitat is there. Other that you may that avoid that man-wildlife conflict in and around the protected area. So that corridor is free for to that moving for that wild animals. And through that conservation education in that schools, colleges, and institutions. This is also helpful for to the students will aware about that conservation of that biodiversity or other fauna. Then that ecological and social economic studies of that forest ecosystem is also very much important for to preserve that biodiversity, because through ecological study, you know that ecological niche and that area and social that if peoples are there, so in that protected area or around that protected area, so they may aware about this animals is very much important for that. Then documentation of indigenous knowledge is very much important, because our that tribals having very much knowledge, and through that knowledge you may that records all and publish in our documentation. So that knowledge is very much important for the future generation. Oh, these are the references and websites I use for this presentation. Oh, thanks due to Dr. Dhriti Banerjee, Director, Madam, Zoological Survey of India, Kolkata, and Dr. Basudeb Tripathi, Scientist E and Officer in charge, our regional centers, for encouragement and providing that facilities. Also thankful to the authorities of Mahatma Gandhi Arts, Science, and later Nasruddin Bhai Panjwani Commerce College, Armory. I'm very much thankful to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shamkant Talmale, sir, for your valuable guidance and very nice informative session on role of faunal studies in biodiversity conservation with respect to Indian mammals. Now, I invite Professor Nikhil Borode, sir, to introduce our next keynote speaker, that is Borode, sir. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So first of all, good afternoon, all of you. It is my pleasure. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir, audible.
Yeah, thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed guest speaker for today's webinar. He is a renowned expert in the wildlife conservation in the Chandrapur district with the passion for bird identification and their photography. He dedicated his career as the range forest officer at Kolsa, Taloba Andheri Tiger Reserve. Their insight and expertise promise to make today's webinar an enlightening experience. Please join me in giving warm welcome to Sri Rundan Katkar sir. So I request Sri Rundan Katkar sir, please start your presentation. Thank you, sir. Katkar sir.
Can you hear me? मेरी आवाज आ
Sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, आ रही है.
You can share your presentation.
Yes, yes. थोड़ा टेक्निकल प्रॉब्लम हो गया है।
Yes, sir.
बोर्डे सर ती पीपीटी शेअर नसेल होत तर तिकडून करा म्हणतात.
नाही,
तुम्ही
तीच
करा ना
बघतोय.
share.
तुमच्याकडून होत आहे का बघा बरं.
दिसतंय ना ते?
सर तुमचं स्क्रीन दिसते का तशी?
फुल स्क्रीन नाही होऊन राहिलाय माझ्याकडून.
नो प्रॉब्लेम सर. कसं घेतलं सर? हो सर. सर फुल स्क्रीन होत नसेल तर तसं घेतलं तरी चालेल. हा जो खाली सिम्बॉल आहे तुमच्या राईट साईडला तिथलं फुल स्क्रीन होत ते किंवा F5 दाबा सर ज्या याचं. डुप्लिकेट सर.
डुप्लिकेट करा सर.
नाही होऊन राहिलाय.
डुप्लिकेट वर क्लिक करा सर. F5 दाबून
बरं तुमच्याकडनं पीपीटी शेअर करा.
तुमचं हे PDF पाठवलेली आहे सर तुम्ही.
सर विजिबल आहे सर.
आता दिसून राहिलाय का?
यस सर दिसतंय.
दिसत आहे ना? आवाज क्लिअर आहे. आवाज कसा आहे माझा?
यस सर क्लिअर आहे आवाज.
क्लिअर आहे सर.
नमस्कार, माय नेम इज रुंदन कातकर, रेन फॉरेस्ट ऑफिसर, ताडोबा आमदारी टायगर रिझर्व. अभी मैं ताड़ोबा टाइगर रिजर्व में जो कंजर्वेशन वर्क हो रहा है उसके बारे में बात करूंगा। तो सबसे पहले ताड़ोबा अंधारी टाइगर रिजर्व के बारे में जान लेते हैं। वैसे तो जितने भी पार्टिसिपेंट है उनको तो पता ही होगा, क्योंकि ताड़ोबा इज वन ऑफ द फेमस टाइगर प्रोजेक्ट इन इंडिया और टाइगर टूरिज्म एंड वाइल्ड लाइफ सफारी। तो ताड़ोबा के बारे में जान लेते कि ताड़ोबा टाइगर प्रोजेक्ट जो है महाराष्ट्र का सेकंड टाइगर प्रोजेक्ट और भारत का 20th टाइगर प्रोजेक्ट था। ताड़ोबा अंधारी टाइगर प्रोजेक्ट है, 2 प्रोटेक्टेड एरियाज बन के बना है, जो उसमें नेशनल पार्क है और वाइल्ड लाइफ सेंचुरी, अंधारी वाइल्ड लाइफ सेंचुरी मिला के ताड़ोबा टाइगर प्रोजेक्ट बना है। तो 1995 में ताड़ोबा नेशनल पार्क का नोटिफाइड हुआ, ताड़ोबा नेशनल पार्क, जिसका एरिया 116.55 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर था। और फिर 1986 में ताड़ोबा 1986 में अंधारी वाइल्ड लाइफ सेंचुरी का नोटिफिकेशन हुआ, जिसका एरिया 506 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर था। तो दोनों प्रोटेक्टेड एरिया मिला के 1950 1995-96 में टाइगर प्रोजेक्ट घोषित किया गया। और 2010 में 1107 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर का बफर एरिया घोषित किया। तो अभी ताड़ोबा टाइगर प्रोजेक्ट का टोटल एरिया है 1700 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर। कंजर्वेशन क्रोनोलॉजी के बारे में बात करें तो 1873 में ब्रिटिश के दरमियान सिस्टमेटिक फायर प्रोटेक्शन चालू हुआ और 1979 में ताड़ोबा डिक्लेयर्ड एज अ रिजर्व फॉरेस्ट। 1905 में टाइगर शूटिंग प्रोहिबिटेड हो गया। जो टाइगर पोचिंग यानी शिकार किया जाता था वो ताड़ोबा एरिया में, वो 1905 में प्रोहिबिटेड हो गया। यानी शिकार के लिए एक स्पेशल परमिशन दिया जाता था, तो 1905 में वो शिकार बंद हो गया। 1935-45 में 45 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर एरिया अराउंड ताड़ोबा लेक डिक्लेयर्ड एज अ सेंचुरी। 1935 और 45 के दरमियान ताड़ोबा लेक के आजू बाजू का जो 45 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर का एरिया था वो ताड़ोबा सेंचुरी करके डिक्लेयर किया गया था। 2008 में कोर एरिया ताड़ोबा अंदर टाइगर रिजर्व का नोटिफाइड हुआ और 2010 में बफर एरिया नोटिफाइड हुआ। तो ताड़ोबा में टाइगर कंजर्वेशन का काम अभी जो पद्धति से चल रहा है मैं उसके बारे में बात करूंगा। तो आप यहाँ पे देख रहे हैं कि 2010 में टाइगर पॉपुलेशन बहुत कम था ताड़ोबा में, फिर 2014 में एकदम से बढ़ गया, 65 टाइगर हो गए, 2018 में 81 टाइगर और अभी 2022-23 में नियर अबाउट 90 टाइगर है ताड़ोबा टाइगर रिजर्व में। तो इसमें कोर एरिया और बफर एरिया दोनों मिला के 90 करीबन प्लस माइनस 90 टाइगर का पॉपुलेशन है, एडल्ट टाइगर। कम्युनिटी नेचर कंजर्वेशन के बारे में बात करेंगे। ताड़ोबा में हम लोग जो अभी कंजर्वेशन की जो योजनाएं अवलंब कर रहे हैं उसमें कम्युनिटी नेचर कंजर्वेंसी का मेन रोल है। उसमें हम लोकल फार्मर को जीरो क्रॉप डिप्रेडेशन, लैंड ओनरशिप, एश्योर्ड इनकम फ्रॉम अलाइड एक्टिविटीज, लैंड ओनरशिप इंटैक्ट, बेटर अपॉर्चुनिटीज फॉर देयर चिल्ड्रेन। तो अभी जीरो क्रॉप डिप्रेडेशन के बारे में बात करें तो अलग अलग योजनाओं से फार्मर लोगों को, जैसे फेंसिंग हो गया, क्योंकि उनका भरोसा होना चाहिए कि डिपार्टमेंट कुछ तो भी कर रहा करके, नहीं तो फिर इलेक्ट्रिशियन के केसेस बढ़ जाते हैं। बहुत सारे लोग फार्म में लाइव करंट लगाते हैं और इलीगल एक्टिविटी करते हैं और वाइल्ड एनिमल का पोचिंग करते हैं। तो सीएनसी मॉडल अभी यूज कर रहे हैं हम ताड़ोबा में। तो सीएनसी मॉडल के यानी जो फार्मर लोग हैं उनको तो फायदा हो रहा है और वाइल्ड लाइफ के लिए भी फायदा हो रहा। जैसे एक्सटेंडेड होम रेंजेस, वाइल्ड लाइफ का एरिया बढ़ रहा, रिस्टोर्ड कॉरिडोर, ऑनरशिप फीलिंग और वाइल्ड लाइफ जीरो पोचिंग एंड रिवेंज किलिंग, यानी अभी पोचिंग के केसेस नहीं हो रहे ताड़ोबा में, यानी कोई रिवेंज किलिंग भी नहीं हो रहा। और अभी टूरिज्म के माध्यम से बहुत सारे फायदे हो रहे हैं, जैसे कि मोर वाइल्ड लाइफ साइटिंग हो रही है, एक्सपोजर टू लोकल कल्चर, फूड एंड हॉस्पिटैलिटी, सेंसिटाइजेशन एंड इम्बिलिंग कंजर्वेशन एड्स। तो टूरिज्म का क्या फायदा हो रहा है? तो नेशन में जैसे इंक्रीज इन फॉरेस्ट कवर अचीव, वो sequestration, reduce tourism pressure on national parks, sense of ownership for wildlife। तो सीएनसी मॉडल की वजह से बहुत सारे फायदे हो रहे हैं, और जैसे स्पेशली फार्मर लोगों को बहुत सारे फायदे हो रहे हैं सीएनसी मॉडल की वजह से, और उसकी वजह से ऑटोमेटिकली वाइल्ड लाइफ को भी फायदे हो रहे हैं, जैसे होम रेंजेस एरिया बढ़ रहा वाइल्ड लाइफ का, और प्रे पॉपुलेशन में भी बढ़ोतरी आ रही है। पार्टिसिपेटरी इको टूरिज्म के माध्यम से ताड़ोबा अंधारी टाइगर रिजर्व में जो करीबन पेरी फेरी पे 95 विलेजेस है, उसमें बहुत सारी रोजगार मिल रहा है, बढ़ोतरी हो रही है। जैसे आप देख रहे हैं कि टीएटीआर में 22 गेट्स है, टूरिज्म गेट्स 22 गेट है, उनमें आप देख रहे हैं कि 22 गेट होने की वजह से 1000+ टूरिज्म गाइड है, टूरिस्ट गाइड है। तो 22 गेट से 1000+ गाइड को रोजगार मिल रहा है। फिर उसमें गेट मैनेजर्स आ गए, जिप्सी ड्राइवर आ गए, सपोर्टिंग स्टाफ आ गया, सब आ गए, यानी ऐसा मिला कि करीबन 5000 फैमिलीज को, 5000 लोगों को जॉब मिल रहा है, यानी रोजी रोटी मिल रही है। तो टूरिज्म का फायदा ये हो रहा है कि इनडायरेक्टली ताड़ोबा कंजर्वेशन में मदद हो रही है, जो फॉरेस्ट कंजर्वेशन है, वाइल्ड लाइफ कंजर्वेशन है। और टूरिज्म के अलावा अलग अलग एक्टिविटीज है बियॉन्ड टाइगर टूरिज्म, जैसे बोटिंग है, साइकिलिंग है, लॉग हट से, एडवेंचर गेम्स है, और नेचर कैंप से। और अभी 1.5 साल 1 साल हो गया है, हमने एक नेचुरलिस्ट अपॉइंट किया है, वो अलग अलग बर्ड्स के आवाज निकलता है, सुमेध वाघमारे करके। तो उससे हमारा रोजाना एक प्रोग्राम चलता है पूरी। अभी तो सफारी बंद है, 1 अक्टूबर से जैसे सफारी चालू हो जाएंगी, तो वो हमेशा शाम को एक मोरली गेट पे एक अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम रहता है, वो अलग अलग बर्ड्स की आवाज निकाल के टूरिस्ट को, यानी उसके माध्यम से अवेयरनेस करता है, और कंजर्वेशन में उसकी मदद होती है। और नेचर ट्रेल है। तो ये सभी एक्टिविटीज से रेवेन्यू जनरेट बहुत सारा हो रहा, वो कंजर्वेशन के लिए भी काम आ रहा, और इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रेंथ के लिए भी काम आ रहा। जैसे अभी आप देख रहे हैं यहाँ पे 2018-19 में 38 CR था, 19-20 में एकदम से बढ़ोतरी हुई और अब वो 50 CR हो गया। लेकिन जैसे कोविड पेंडेमिक गया, उसमें और कम होते जा रहा, यानी 2020-21 में थोड़ा कम हुआ, और 21-22 में थोड़ी बढ़ोतरी हुई, 28 CR का रेवेन्यू जनरेट हुआ। फिर 22-23 में और बढ़ गया, क्योंकि कोविड चला गया और अभी बढ़ोतरी हो रही। तो इको टूरिज्म के माध्यम से बहुत सारे फायदे हो रहे, क्योंकि जब वो ताड़ोबा अंधारी टाइगर एरिया का बफर एरिया डिक्लेयर करना था, तो जो पेरीफेरी पे जितने भी विलेजेस थे, उन्होंने मना किया था कि हम ताड़ोबा में नहीं आएंगे करके, क्योंकि उनको पता नहीं था कि ताड़ोबा में समझो हम शामिल हो गए तो हमें क्या मिलेगा। क्योंकि बहुत सारे गांव लोगों ने जो ग्राम सभा का ठहराव है वो निगेटिव दिया था कि हमें ताड़ोबा में शामिल नहीं होना चाहिए, क्योंकि फ्यूचर के बारे में उनको पता नहीं था कि इतना सारा रोजगार हमें मिलेगा करके। तो जैसे ही बफर एरिया घोषित होने के बाद जो सफारी गेट्स चालू हो गए, यानी पूरे ताड़ोबा के पेरीफेरी में अभी 22 सफारी गेट्स है, तो उसके माध्यम से जितने भी लोगों को रोजी रोटी मिल रही, करीबन 70-80% विलेज ताड़ोबा के ऊपर डिपेंड है, रोजी रोटी उनको ताड़ोबा के माध्यम से मिल रही। तो इसलिए वो जो उनका इलिसिट कटिंग था, पोचिंग था, वो सारे धंधे उन्होंने बंद कर दिए। तो इसके लिए डिपार्टमेंट तो काम कर रहा, लेकिन कंजर्वेशन वर्क में डिपार्टमेंट के अलावा जब तक ये लोकल पब्लिक यानी मदद नहीं करता, तब तक कंजर्वेशन पॉसिबल नहीं है। कोलैबोरेशन ऑफ कंजर्वेशन, तो बाकी दूसरी प्रैक्टिस जो कर रहे हैं हम, कि स्टडिंग द फूड प्रेफरेंस ऑफ कार्निवोर, टाइगर, लेपर्ड, वाइल्ड डॉग, हर्बीवोर, चीतल। तो अभी अलग अलग संस्था, एनजीओ संस्था के माध्यम से ताड़ोबा में फूड स्टडी चालू है कि जैसे टाइगर, लेपर्ड, वाइल्ड डॉग और प्रेप स्पीसीज में चीतल, सांबर और गोर का हम स्कैट कलेक्ट कर रहे हैं, टाइगर, लेपर्ड और वाइल्ड डॉग का, और उसमें एक्स्ट्रा हर्बीवोरा का पेलेट्स ले रहे हैं, जैसे चीतल, सांबर और गोर हो गया। तो उसका डीएनए एक्सट्रैक्शन कर रहे हैं हम। ये पहला स्टडी है कि ताड़ोबा में हो रहा है अपने इंडिया में। कि अभी तक क्या हो गया था, हम जो प्रे स्पीसीज है उसका ही डीएनए एनालिसिस करते थे या स्कैट कलेक्शन करके वो डीएनए एनालिसिस करता था, लेकिन हर्बीवोरा स्पीसीज का नहीं होता था। तो जैसे चीतल, सांबर और गोर का ले रहे हैं, तो अभी उसका रिपोर्ट आने वाला है। तो हमने पूरे गोर बफर में जो प्रैक्टिस की ताड़ोबा में, तो उसमें करीबन कार्निवोर के 476 सैंपल कलेक्ट किए और हर्बीवोरा के 531 सैंपल कलेक्ट किए। तो हर्बीवोरा का सैंपल कलेक्ट करने का उद्देश्य एक ही था कि जो हर्बीवोरा जो प्लांट स्पीसीज कौन से खाते हैं, तो उसके माध्यम से हमें पता चलेगा कि चीतल कितने स्पीसीज खा रहा, सांबर क्या क्या खा रहा और गोर क्या क्या खा रहा। तो ये सब एक्टिविटी करने से पहले हम डिपार्टमेंट का स्टाफ जो भी है सैंपल कलेक्शन वर्कशॉप लेते हैं, फिर सैंपल आइडेंटिफिकेशन वर्कशॉप लेते हैं, क्योंकि बहुत सारे नए बंदे आते हैं, उनको पता नहीं रहता कि चीतल का पेलेट्स कैसा रहता है, सांबर का पेलेट्स कैसा रहता है। तो इसी माध्यम से ये पहले ट्रेनिंग देने के बाद करीबन 1 महीने का प्रैक्टिस रहता है। 1 महीने में हम बहुत सारे सैंपल कलेक्ट करते हैं और वो फिर वो कोलैबोरेशन है एनसीबीएस और फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट का, वहां भेजते हैं हम। लॉन्ग टर्म स्पीसीज मॉनिटरिंग है, जैसे कैमरा ट्रैप। जब भी पिछले प्रेजेंटेशन में तलमले सर ने बताया कि कैमरा ट्रैपिंग, तो हमारे अभी जो पुराना सिस्टम था कि जैसे 2008 के पहले फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट पगमार सेंसस करता था कि दिन भर घूमो और जो भी पगमार मिलते प्लास्टर कास्ट लो और अलग अलग टाइगर आइडेंटिफाई करो, लेकिन वो पुराना पद्धत था, पगमार से अपन अलग अलग टाइगर आइडेंटिफाई नहीं कर सकते। तो फिर जैसे कैमरा ट्रैप से क्या होता है कि एक साल भर जैसे टाइगर टाइगर मॉनिटरिंग करते हैं, तो 45 डेज तक हम कैमरा ट्रैप लगा के रखते हैं और स्ट्राइप पैटर्न से आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं इंडिविजुअल टाइगर, जैसे लेपर्ड भी हो गया। तो कैमरा ट्रैप तो बाकी वो मॉनिटरिंग के अलावा हमारा साल भर कैमरा ट्रैप जंगल में लगा रहता है, उससे इलीगल एक्टिविटी भी पता चलती है और एनिमल मूवमेंट भी पता चलती है। तो सबसे पहले जो भी है कैमरा ट्रैप का हम वर्कशॉप लेते हैं और सभी स्टाफ को ट्रेनिंग देते हैं। बाद में एरिया आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं, 2-3 दिन मॉनिटरिंग करते हैं कि कौन से एरिया में ज्यादा मूवमेंट है टाइगर का, यानी एक्टिविटी कहाँ पे ज्यादा है। उसके बाद हम ग्रिड वाइज कैमरा ट्रैप लगा देते हैं, यानी 2 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर का एक ग्रिड रहता है और जितने भी ग्रिड करीबन 600 के करीब ग्रिड है समझो ताड़ोबा में, तो उतने ग्रिड में हम कैमरा ट्रैप लगा देते, पेयर में लगाते हैं, यानी यानी कि दोनों पैटर्न आना चाहिए टाइगर का और आइडेंटिफिकेशन के लिए इजी हो जाएगा। तो आप यहाँ पे फोटोज दो देख रहे हैं ना, तो उससे जो अभी जो टाइगर का पॉपुलेशन बताया मैंने, जब भी बताया था कि अभी 2022-23 में करीबन 90 टाइगर है, 87 टाइगर है प्लस माइनस। ये एडल्ट टाइगर है, उसमें हम जो बच्चे रहते हैं 2 साल तक के उनको काउंट नहीं करते, 2 साल के ऊपर हो गया तो उसको हम अलग नंबर देके, यानी वो गिनती में आ जाता है। फिर रिस्टोरेशन हैबिटेट मैनेजमेंट के लिए अभी जो टाइगर का तो ठीक है, लेकिन प्रे पॉपुलेशन के ऊपर टाइगर का पॉपुलेशन डिपेंड करता है। जैसे अभी ताड़ोबा टाइगर रिजर्व में हम लोग हैबिटेट मैनेजमेंट का काम थोड़ा ज्यादा कर रहे हैं कि करीबन अभी कोर एरिया में 1000 हेक्टर से ज्यादा ग्रासलैंड ग्रासलैंड डेवलपमेंट के काम कर रहे हैं हम लोग। तो मेजरली और ग्रासलैंड डेवलपमेंट में हम क्या रहे कि जो इन्वेजिव स्पीसीज है वो ज्यादा रिमूव कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि ग्रासलैंड मैनेजमेंट के लिए जो भी नॉन पेलेटेबल स्पीसीज रहते हैं वो रिमूव करना बहुत जरूरी रहता है, जैसे हिप्टिस सुवेलेंस हो गया, साइडा एक्यूटा हो गया, लैंटाना कैमेरा हो गया। तो ये स्पीसीज बहुत जरूरी है। तो अभी 1000 से ज्यादा हेक्टेयर का एरिया जो है वो ग्रासलैंड मैनेजमेंट एरिया में आ रहा ताड़ोबा में। तो ग्रासलैंड मैनेजमेंट की वजह से क्या हो रहा कि चीतल का पॉपुलेशन, सांबर का पॉपुलेशन, गोर का पॉपुलेशन अच्छा खासा बढ़ रहा। जैसे एरिया वाइज देखे तो ताड़ोबा एरिया में चीतल का पॉपुलेशन बहुत ज्यादा है। आप ताड़ोबा एरिया कभी घूमे होंगे तो उसमें आपको चीतल का पॉपुलेशन बहुत दिखेगा। जैसे करीबन पांडरपुनी एरिया हो गया, जामनी एरिया हो गया, उसमें आप चीतल बहुत सारे देख सकते। तो हैबिटेट हैबिटेट मैनेजमेंट में हम लोग क्या करें कि कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग ऑफ स्टाफ और वीड मैनेजमेंट, ये स्टाफ की कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग करना, फिर वीड मैनेजमेंट के लिए उनको बताना कि काम कैसे करें। रिस्टोरेशन ऑफ ग्रासलैंड, इस्टेब्लिशमेंट ऑफ फॉरेस्ट फायर कंट्रोल सेल, क्योंकि फॉरेस्ट फायर अभी 3-4 साल हो गए कि ताड़ोबा में 0 फॉरेस्ट फायर है। तो इसकी वजह से क्या हो गया कि एरिया अच्छा कंजर्व है, और अच्छा कंजर्व होने की वजह से वाइल्ड लाइफ डैमेज नहीं हो रहा। फॉरेस्ट फायर एंड बाम्बू फ्लावरिंग मैनेजमेंट प्लान, क्योंकि 20-21 से ताड़ोबा कोर एरिया में बाम्बू फ्लावरिंग बहुत सारी है। तो इसकी वजह से हमारे पास एक चैलेंज था कि बाम्बू फ्लावर यानी चारों तरफ आ गया तो फायर कंट्रोल कैसे करे, फायर मैनेजमेंट कैसे करे। तो हमने फिर 20-20 मीटर के फायर लाइन निकाले। जो एरिया में समझो बाम्बू फ्लावरिंग ज्यादा है तो वो एरिया में हमने 20 मीटर के फायर लाइन निकाले, और मैन पावर थोड़ा बढ़ा दिए। हर बीट गार्ड को हमने 5-5 फॉरेस्ट वॉचर दिए, जिसकी वजह से क्या हो गया कि मैक्सिमम पेरीफेरी के जो विलेजर्स थे उनको हमने काम पे लगाया, तो एकदम नील हो गया फॉरेस्ट फायर। अभी 3 साल से 0 फॉरेस्ट फायर है। तो व्हाई आर डूइंग इट? अचीव द healthy habitat for wildlife, promote the palatable grass species in the grassland, 0 forest fire। तो हैबिटेट मैनेजमेंट में यही आवश्यक चीजें हैं कि हर्बीवोरा के लिए एक हेल्दी हैबिटेट होना चाहिए, और ग्रासलैंड स्पीसीज आइडेंटिफिकेशन बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि ग्रासलैंड एरिया है और वहां पे आपके पेलेटेबल ग्रासेस नहीं है तो बहुत सारी चीजों का प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा। समझो हिप्टिस वैलेंस बाहर नहीं निकालेंगे तो हिप्टिस वैलेंस जानवर खाते नहीं है। जैसे कि पेलेटेबल ग्रासेस में डाइकेंथियम हो गया, हेट्रोपोगान हो गया, तो ये चीजों को बढ़ोतरी करना बहुत जरूरी है। ये जो ग्रास स्पीसीज है वो ज्यादातर ग्रासलैंड एरिया में होना चाहिए। ये जो देख रहे हैं आप, ये वीड पेलेटेबल ग्रास आइडेंटिफिकेशन वर्कशॉप, ये नवेगांव एरिया का है। नवेगांव एरिया में ज्यादातर अभी ताड़ोबा का सबसे बड़ा मेडो नवेगांव एरिया में है, जो ताड़ोबा कोर एरिया में गिरता है। करीबन 285 हेक्टेयर का एरिया है। वीड इंटेंसिटी सर्वे ऑफ यूजिंग कोबो एप्लीकेशन, जो टेक्नोलॉजी कोबो एप्लीकेशन की वजह से, कोबो एप्लीकेशन की मदद से हम वो वीड इंटेंसिटी सर्वे करते हैं। मॉनिटरिंग ऑफ फॉरेस्ट फायर, हमारे जो डिवीजन ऑफिस में एक मॉनिटरिंग रूम है, वहां से हम फॉरेस्ट फायर कंट्रोल करते हैं। कंट्रोल मतलब कि जो भी फॉरेस्ट फायर लगी तो तुरंत वो एरिया का जीपीएस वे पॉइंट मिल जाता है और हम वो स्टाफ को भेज देते हैं फॉरेस्ट एक्सटिंग्विश करने के लिए डिले ना होकर। और फॉरेस्ट फायर के लिए हमने एयर ब्लो, हमारे पास एयर ब्लोअर है। एयर ब्लोअर से हम तुरंत फॉरेस्ट फायर कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं। व्हाट वी अचीव्ड: removed lantana camera, hyptus valens, achieved lowest fire incidence in state, grass nursery and seed collection was started on beat level। तो हमने क्या किए कि जैसे मैंने बताया, ग्रासलैंड एरिया में से लैंटाना कैमरा और हिप्टिस वैलेंस निकालना। तो लैंटाना कैमरा तो ताड़ोबा में कम है, लेकिन हिप्टिस वैलेंस की डेंसिटी बहुत ज्यादा है। तो वो इतना इन्वेजिव है कि हर जगह स्प्रेड हो जाता है। तो वो मेनली स्पीसीज है, हम वो रिमूव करते हैं, नॉन पेलेटेबल है वो। तो फिर और सीड, ग्रासलैंड मैनेजमेंट के लिए सीड कलेक्शन बहुत जरूरी है। तो हम हर बीट गार्ड को बोल रहे हैं कि आप सीड जितना भी ज्यादा कलेक्ट होता है उतना कलेक्ट करो, क्योंकि सीड जितना ज्यादा कलेक्ट होगा उतना हम ग्रासलैंड बढ़ा सकते हैं। क्योंकि जो एरिया से हम हिप्टिस वैलेंस निकालेंगे वो एरिया में दूसरे ग्रास की बीज डालना बहुत जरूरी है, नहीं तो फिर अगले साल हिप्टिस वैलेंस आ जाएगा वहां। और ये जितना भी काम हो रहा है ग्रासलैंड मैनेजमेंट का, ये डॉक्टर मुरतकर साहब जो है ग्रासमैन ऑफ इंडिया, उनके मार्गदर्शन के अंडर हो रहा है। और कंजर्वेशन के लिए एजुकेशन अवेयरनेस बहुत जरूरी है। तो ताड़ोबा मैनेजमेंट जो है अलग अलग माध्यम से एजुकेशन में, जैसे निसर्ग अनुभव हो गया, प्रोग्राम सेंसिटाइजेशन स्कूल चिल्ड्रन ऑफ ताड़ोबा लैंडस्केप, जो ताड़ोबा लैंडस्केप के आजू बाजू में जितने भी विलेजेस है, तो उन सभी को स्कूल के विद्यार्थी जो है उनको ताड़ोबा सफारी करना और ताड़ोबा सफारी के दरमियान जंगल के बारे में जानकारी देना, अवेयरनेस करना। तो अभी तक 25,000 के ऊपर स्टूडेंट्स को निसर्ग अनुभव यानी सफारी हुई है ताड़ोबा में। तो ये स्टूडेंट का हो गया, लेकिन स्टूडेंट के अलावा जो भी कम्युनिटी सेंसिटाइजेशन प्रोग्राम के तहत हम वुमन सेंसिटाइजेशन प्रोग्राम भी ले रहे हैं। 2000 के ऊपर वुमन ने ताड़ोबा अंधारी टाइगर रिजर्व को विजिट दी, उनको सफारी के लिए लेके जाके वहां ताड़ोबा में क्या क्या चल रहा है और कंजर्वेशन के लिए क्या क्या होना चाहिए, सभी बातें बताई जाती। यूथ सेंसिटाइजेशन प्रोग्राम भी जरूरी है। तो 1500 के ऊपर यूथ ताड़ोबा लैंडस्केप में पार्टिसिपेटेड हुए, जहाँ पे अभी गाइड ट्रेनिंग हो गया, अलग अलग अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम हो गया, अलग अलग एनजीओ के माध्यम से भी यूथ सेंसिटाइजेशन प्रोग्राम चालू है। तो कम्युनिटी एजुकेशन एंड अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम, जैसे अभी मैंने बताया कि 5,000 के ऊपर नेचर कैंप हो गए, 2,000 के ऊपर वुमेन सेंसिटाइजेशन प्रोग्राम हुए, 1875 मोबाइल हेल्थ सर्विस, अलग अलग एनजीओ के माध्यम से मोबाइल हेल्थ सर्विस भी हुआ। 25,000 के ऊपर जो स्टूडेंट है निसर्ग अनुभव में, स्टूडेंट के लिए जो स्कूल के स्टूडेंट है उनको ताड़ोबा में घुमाया गया और अवेयरनेस किया गया। कम्युनिटी प्रोग्राम के माध्यम से यानी 450 कम्युनिटी प्रोग्राम लिए गए, उनमें से अलग अलग कार्यक्रम करके अवेयरनेस किया गया। और यूथ सेंसिटाइजेशन भी 1500 के ऊपर किए गए। और नेचर एजुकेशन अवेयरनेस कैंप भी होते रहते हैं, जैसे बदनापुर साइट है, आगरधरी साइट है। तो इसके माध्यम से भी लोगों को, स्टूडेंट को अवेयर किया जाता है कि फॉरेस्ट कंजर्वेशन क्यों जरूरी है, वाइल्ड लाइफ कंजर्वेशन क्यों जरूरी है। तो ये सभी कार्यक्रम चल रहे हैं। इसकी वजह से अभी ताड़ोबा, आपको पता है कि टाइगर पॉपुलेशन भी बढ़ रहा है और दिन ब दिन वाइल्ड लाइफ की संख्या भी बढ़ रही। और मैन एनिमल कन्फ्लिक्ट बहुत जोरों से चल रहा है। जैसे आप ब्रह्मपुरी में सोचते हैं, यानी देखते रहते कि हर 15 दिन एक दिन, यानी 15 दिन एक महीने में एक न्यूज आती है कि टाइगर ने आदमी को मारा कर। तो वाइल्ड लाइफ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट कम करने के लिए भी अलग अलग प्रोग्राम किए गए। जो ग्रेजर से, गांव के शेफर्ड से, तो उनका भी एक प्रोग्राम लिया जाता है और उनको बताया जाता है कि जंगल में कैसे जाए और जंगल में ग्रेजिंग यानी जानवरों को चराते वक्त क्या क्या सावधानियां बरतनी चाहिए। तो जैसे उनको मास्क भी दिए गए, जो आप देख रहे हैं फोटो में, मास्क कि पीछे मास्क लगाओ, चेहरे के पीछे मास्क लगाओ और जंगल में जाओ। इससे क्या होगा कि समझो आजू बाजू में टाइगर रहा समझो, और उसको लगेगा कि ये आदमी मेरी तरफ ही देख रहा, क्योंकि टाइगर सामने से तो अटैक नहीं करेगा। इससे भी बहुत फर्क पड़ रहा है। और जैसे जो जितने भी ग्रेजर्स है उनको प्रोग्राम लेके जानकारी देने की वजह से थोड़ा जो पेरीफेरी का कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है वो बहुत कम हो गया है। मोबाइल हेल्थ सर्विस कैंप्स भी हो रहे हैं। मोबाइल हेल्थ सर्विस कैंप की वजह से जो भी इंटीरियर गांव है, जैसे पेरीफेरी में बहुत सारे इंटीरियर गांव है, वो कभी तालुका लेवल पे दवाखाने में नहीं जा सकते, जो हॉस्पिटल में नहीं जा सकते, तो उनको डोर टू डोर सर्विस दी जा रही है। जो भी यानी कैंप होते रहते 15 दिन एक महीने में, और बेसिक जो है, बेसिक कैंप लेके उनको दवाइयाँ दी जाती है। और अभी ईआरटी की, सॉरी, पार्टिसिपेटरी अप्रोच टू कॉन्फ्लिक्ट मिटिगेशन। अभी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट मिटिगेशन के लिए हर गांव के आजू बाजू में एक पीआरटी, गांव के जो तरुण बंदे हैं उनको लेके पीआरटी एक तैयार की गई है, जो 5-5 बंदों के लिए उनको थोड़ा ट्रेन करके पीआरटी, प्राइमरी रिस्पांस टीम करके पीआरटी के जो बंदे हैं, क्योंकि कभी कभी क्या होता है, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो गया समझो, तो हमारा जो भी बीट गार्ड है या फॉरेस्ट ऑफिसर है वो तुरंत पहुंच नहीं सकता, यानी वो घटना के ठिकान पे। तो जो पीआरटी मेंबर वही गांव के रहते हैं, तो वो तुरंत वहां जाके मॉब कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं। जो एनिमल है, समझो गांव के नजदीक एनिमल, तो उसको, यानी जो मॉब एनिमल की तरफ जा रहा है उसको भी कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं। तो ये पीआरटी की वजह से बहुत सारा फर्क आया है कि पीआरटी की वजह से बहुत सारा फर्क आया है कि जो डिपार्टमेंट के लोग तुरंत नहीं पहुंच सकते, वहां पे पीआरटी जल्दी जाके बहुत सारा जो मॉब है वो कंट्रोल करके डिपार्टमेंट को मदद कर सकते हैं। और पीआरटी वो मॉब कंट्रोल कंट्रोल के बजाय वो कैमरा ट्रैक में भी मदद कर रही है, फायर प्रोटेक्शन में भी मदद कर रही, अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम में भी मदद कर रही, कैटल किल पे जाके वो पंचनामा जो भी बाकी की कार्रवाई होती है वहां पे भी मदद कर रही। तो पीआरटी की वजह से करीबन 1000 के ऊपर लाइफ स्टॉक, यानी सेव द लाइफ ऑफ 100 विलेजर्स, थाउजेंड्स लाइफ स्टॉक। अभी आप सोच सकते हैं कि 100 विलेजर्स और 1000 के ऊपर जो जानवर है वो बचाने में मदद हुई है। एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजी ऑफ मिटिगेशन इन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, तो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रोकने के लिए हमने एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजी की भी मदद ली है, जैसे कि सेंसर कैमरा ट्रैप हो गए। ये जो फोटो में देख रहे हैं आप, ये ये कैमरा ट्रैप है। और एक सेंसर मशीन भी आती है जो उसके पास समझो हॉट एनिमल गया तो वो अलार्म देती है, जैसे कोई एनिमल मूवमेंट होती है तो अलार्म देती है वो। तो ये एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजी यूज करके कि हमने कॉन्फ्लिक्ट कम करने के लिए प्रयत्न चालू है हमारे। जैसे कि डेडिकेटेड टीम रैपिड रेस्क्यू यूनिट भी, 2 वेटरनरी डॉक्टर है, एक पुलिस कांस्टेबल है, 4 स्पेशल टाइगर प्रोटेक्शन फोर्स है, जो भी रैपिड रेस्क्यू टीम है। जितने भी अभी चंद्रपुर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में जो टाइगर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट टाइगर है वो रेस्क्यू का काम चलता है, तो ये टीम प्रॉपरली कर रही है, जिसमें खोबरागड़े साहब है, मराठे साहब है जो शूटर है। तो अभी तक उन्होंने अबो 57 टाइगर रेस्क्यू किए हैं अभी तक। तो ये जो ग्राफ देख रहे हैं आप, रैपिड रेस्क्यू यूनिट ने कितने जानवरों को रेस्क्यू किया, तो वहां पे 2014 से 23 तक 52 हो गए थे। अभी अभी 4-5 बढ़ गए, यानी 57 हो गए टाइगर। लेपर्ड 46 हो गए और भालू 31 हो गए। तो इतने सारे जानवर रेस्क्यू किए हैं। डॉक्टर श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी जो योजना है, तो कंजर्वेशन थ्रू कम्युनिटी डेवलपमेंट, उसकी वजह से, जो योजना की वजह से हम, योजना के तहत हम लोग क्या करें कि हर गांव को 25-25 लाख रुपए देके वो योजना से सोलर लाइट देना, सोलर फेंसिंग देना, टॉयलेट और गैस, और एक प्रोग्राम भी चल रहा है कि स्किल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम भी चल रहे हैं, उसके तहत एम्पावरमेंट कैटल भी दे रहे हैं हम लोग उनको कि वो मिल्क के लिए। तो श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी की योजना की वजह से बहुत सारे फायदे हो रहे हैं लोगों को। यानी श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी तो आउटसाइड ताड़ोबा भी चल रहा है, जैसे ब्रह्मपुरी डिवीजन, टेरिटोरियल डिवीजन जो भी है, चंद्रपुर ब्रह्मपुरी डिवीजन, वहां पे भी ये योजना लागू है। क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोग लाइव करंट लगाते हैं, तो लाइव करंट लगाने से जानवर भी मर जाते हैं। बहुत सारी इंसिडेंट्स हुए कि आदमी भी मर रहा है इलेक्ट्रिशियन में, यानी करंट लग के। तो ये जो सोलर फेंसिंग रहता है, सोलर फेंसिंग से फायदा क्या होता है कि करंट भी लगा तो कुछ होता नहीं है, झटका लग जाता है, जानवर भग जाता है वहां। श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी योजना के तहत हमने मैक्सिमम इंडिविजुअली, और जो भी लोग 2-4 मिला के लेते होंगे तो उनको भी सोलर फेंसिंग देना चालू है। और गांव के आजू बाजू में समझो लेपर्ड या वाइल्ड एनिमल का मूवमेंट हो रहा है, तो गांव के आजू बाजू में बहुत सारे सोलर लाइट भी लगा रहे। तो सोलर लाइट की वजह से क्या है कि जानवर का जो मूवमेंट है गांव में थोड़ा कम हो रहा है। और अभी ग्रामीण भाग में हम देखते हैं कि ज्यादातर लोग बाहर शौच के लिए जाते हैं, संडास के लिए जाते हैं। वो जो संडास है, घरगुती संडास, वो ज्यादा यूज नहीं करते। तो श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी के तहत वो संडास भी बांध के दे रहे हैं हम लोग। और बहुत सारे लोग जो फ्यूल वुड के लिए जंगल में जाते हैं, तो फ्यूल वुड के लिए जंगल में नहीं जाना चाहिए करके श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी योजना के तहत उनको जो गैस सिलेंडर भी डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं। तो गैस सिलेंडर देने की वजह से अभी बहुत सारे लोगों का जंगल में जाना कम हो रहा है, और यानी 90% लोग अभी जंगल में जा नहीं रहे फ्यूल वुड के लिए। और स्किल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम भी चल रहे हैं, जैसे पांगड़ी में अभी आईसीआईसी फाउंडेशन और मिटकॉन उनके कोलैबोरेशन से एक ट्रेनिंग सेंटर चल रहा है। वहाँ पे एक होम अप्लायंसेस और सोलर अप्लायंसेस का, वहाँ पे 60 स्टूडेंट 2 महीने में एक ट्रेनिंग बैच निकलती है, और उसके थ्रू प्लेसमेंट भी हो रहा है। तो और जो ट्रेनिंग है वो फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट है, जो भी स्टूडेंट वहाँ ट्रेनिंग के लिए आता है उससे 1 रुपया भी नहीं लिया जाता, यानी 2 महीने वहां पे रहेगा और ट्रेनिंग लेगा, और वहीं से उसको जॉब भी मिल जाएगा। तो बहुत सारे लोग बाहर बाहर कंपनियों में जा रहे हैं, जैसे टाटा कंपनी होगी वहां पे भी जा रहे हैं लोग। तो अलग अलग योजना के माध्यम से कंजर्वेशन में बहुत बढ़ोतरी हो रही है। जो स्किल डेवलपमेंट है वो देख रहे हैं आप, आईसीआईसी फाउंडेशन हो गया, परिमल फाउंडेशन है, प्रथम फाउंडेशन है, मिटकॉन है, बीआरटीसी है और चंद्रमा है। और अभी जो फाउंडेशन डे था, ताड़ोबा फाउंडेशन डे, उसमें ताड़ोबा प्रशासन ने 95 विलेजेस को 3-3 लाख का अमाउंट यानी समिति को दिया था विलेज डेवलपमेंट के लिए। तो इसके लिए लोगों को लग रहा कि फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट कुछ तो भी कर रहा हमारे लिए, तो वो एक कंजर्वेशन में मदद हो रही। तो ये ताड़ोबा बायोडाइवर्सिटी है। ताड़ोबा बायोडाइवर्सिटी में आप देख रहे थे मैमल्स 80 है, बर्ड्स 280 स्पीसीज है, रेप्टाइल्स 54 स्पीसीज है, एम्फीबियंस 11 स्पीसीज है, फिशेस 84 है, प्लांट्स मोर देन 667 से। तो कंजर्वेशन वर्क नहीं होगा तो बायोडाइवर्सिटी नहीं बढ़ेगी। तो ये सभी माध्यम से ताड़ोबा बायोडाइवर्सिटी बढ़ाने में मदद हो रही है। थैंक यू।
Much, Mr. Rundan Katkar sir, for your valuable and informative session on Tadoba Andheri Tiger Reserve National Park, their conservation and work. Now we reached at the end of this program, and as you know that the final session of every program is the valedictory session. So I request Professor Nikhil Borode sir for the vote of thanks. Borode, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. As we bring the enlightening webinar to close, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all of you for joining us today. It has been a truly insightful and enriching experience. First and foremost, we must express our deep appreciation to our distinguished guest, speaker, Dr. Ravindra Shirisagar sir, Dr. Shamkant Talmale, and Sri Rundan Katkar sir for sharing their invaluable knowledge and expertise in the area of climate change and the biodiversity conservation. Your insights have been inspiring, and we are truly grateful for your time and commitment. I would also like to thank our dedicated audience for your active participation in this webinar. Your enthusiasm and the curiosity are what make events like this so rewarding. Furthermore, let's not forget our hardworking organizer and principal of our institute, Dr. Alej Khalsa sir, who put in countless hours to make this webinar a success. Your effort have not gone unnoticed, and we thanks you for your dedication. Also thanks to our organizing secretary, Dr. Jayan Papadkar sir, for his time-to-time support, and our technical team members, Professor Sunil Chute and Prashant Redmal. In closing, today's webinar has been a testament to the power of knowledge, sharing, and collaboration. We hope you live here today with a fresh perspective and the newfound inspiration Thank you once again for being a part of this webinar. We look forward to welcoming you to our future events. Until then, stay curious, keep learning. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Borde sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, Borde sir. I
Yes, sir.
request all the participants. Thank you, Borde sir. I request all the participants, students, research scholars, and the speakers who connected to this particular national webinar. And once again, I thanks to all the effort who did for this success for this webinar. And for the participants, special we can say intimation is there that all the participants who registered in this webinar, they will get the certificate at their mail. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay sir. Thank you,
Thank you.
Paparkar sir.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you, Jay sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.